Not like Yoked Mac. Yoked
That's
Mac,
a good
I feel
point.
like would.
I think all of them though, but Mac always lost the chugging competitions
See,
anyway.
that's
So it'd have to be Charlie or anybody. But yeah, so we'll be out here this week, pumped about it, and very excited for our coverage and our shows. We are also going to have Todd Lebo on the show as well today, as the Big 12 Media Days are getting underway in Las Vegas today and tomorrow. They are presented by Bob Allen Ford. All Fords are created equal. It's the dealer that makes the difference. Experience the Bob Allen Ford difference today at boballenford.com. Mod Pizza, brought to you by Mod Pizza. Unlimited toppings, one price. Check out one of the 7 KC area locations or learn more at modpizza.com. And today, coming up at noon, will be Brett Yormark, and he will have the opening comments for the Big 12 Media Days getting underway. Last week is when the Big 12 released their media poll with Utah predicted to win the Big 12. Kansas State right behind them, one less first-place vote than Utah. They are incredibly close. It's almost like 1 and 1A in the Big 12 this year for the predictions, but it gets underway at noon. I mean, it sort of depends on Cam Rising, and Avery Johnson. I think it's the health of the quarterback, and we'll see how good Oklahoma State's defense can be again this year. There are some questions about some certain teams, and certainly Kansas will have a say in that. But those quarterbacks, like Cam Rising, if he stays healthy, yeah, Utah's got a chance of winning. And if Avery Johnson comes close to realizing some of the expectations and the potential he has, then I'll put my money on Kansas State. I mean, Avery Johnson is the highest Heisman odds of anybody in the Big 12, or the best, I should say.
Sure.
The best, not the longest, but the shortest Heisman odds of anybody in the Big 12. It's still plus 2,500 last I looked, but out of the Big 12, he would be the one that's the favorite of the Big 12 players to win the Heisman because of all the potential that Avery Johnson has, and how good that team can be, and guys that are returning. And somebody that didn't throw an interception last year, completed almost 60% of his passes as a freshman, and in there with Will Howard playing, and then Avery Johnson coming in, and that whole back and forth. But yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. I can't wait for the season to get rolling, and we're gonna hear from Chris Kleiman coming up at 1:20 today. That's when Kansas State's head coach will be up there at the podium. We'll listen in, see what this year is going to be like for Chris Kleiman. Another year in which it's different this year, man. This is the year where we get into the college football that I disagree with the naysayers. And, Sterling, you and I have never talked about this, so I don't know where you stand on this.
Ooh, fun.
I disagree and have disagreed with the naysayers that say if you implement the playoff, it starts to make the best regular season in sports become more meaningless. College football is the best regular season in sports because you can't afford to lose a game. Every game is like a playoff, except it's not, because only 4 teams got in, and then only 2 teams got in, and then it was a vote of just whichever bowl you might have been affiliated with, and if you happened to get the matchup that was good enough for you to beat that team to leapfrog or stay ahead at number 1 or 2 so you could be voted the national champion, right, or even a split national title. Every game is a playoff. Now we are starting in a year, this year for the first time, where I do believe we will have the best regular season. It's better than college basketball because 68 teams get in the field, right? And if you are middle of the pack in your bigger conference, you got a chance of making the NCAA tournament.
Unless you're Mizzou.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And in football, Kansas State can make the playoff this year. Kansas State this year, we know Kansas State can play for a national championship this year. We know that going into the year. Last year, you couldn't say that. Year before that, you couldn't say that. Everything would have had to fall perfectly, and other teams would have to fall, and other teams would have to fail. And no, Kansas State can control their own destiny and not have to be expected to go 15-0. You can lose a couple of games, win the Big 12, make the playoff, and then win your way to a national title. You have the chance in front of you on the field for the first time ever.
Yes.
A team like Kansas State or Missouri or Kansas and Lance Leipold, health certainly matters at KU. When we're talking about quarterbacks, I mean, it all comes down to the quarterback. For Missouri, it comes down to a lot outside of the quarterback just being the facilitator, which is odd when you're talking about a local team. It's always been the quarterback has to be the stud. At Missouri, Brady Cook just has to be good enough because they've got players around him. Avery Johnson, if he's a stud. Oh, good night.
Good night.
No,
Show's over.
I'm gonna.
It's 8:21 a.m. here, Jason.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm gonna let you get this one.
No.
I'm gonna let you.
No, you got
JD.
it. Jalen Daniels. Good God, Jalen Daniels. I got it. Yeah, take that, KU fans. You thought I forgot Jalen Daniels? Heck no.
Just needed a JD to throw in your system.
Yes, but you knew what I was talking about. But I appreciate you letting me drown there. That's very nice of you.
I see a lake out here.
Now I know, though. Paige is here with us. Paige, I'm going to yell for you. If I'm drowning, I'm going to yell for Paige because I know Sterling will be like, hey, kick your legs a little more.
Do you want to
use your
Jason?
Use your arm. Don't struggle. Don't panic. Calm down. Can you just calm down? You're panicking right now. Now you can't even hear me. You're under the water. I feel like you're ignoring me right now. Now you're ignoring me. You're not even listening to me. You're not doing anything. Yes, yeah. I will be screaming for Paige to come help me because I know that you will just let me flounder there and float to the bottom of an incredibly deep lake.
The average depth is 1,000 feet.
Yeah, I don't think I would survive 1,000 feet underneath the water. I don't think I would do that.
Well,
I'm just going to go on record.
20,000 leagues, so it could be farther.
Could be. You never know.
Good book.
There are 20,000 leagues in college football, and only 2 of them had a chance of ever winning a national championship, it felt like. And now this year, Jalen Daniels' health at KU and Lance Leipold and Mizzou and Kansas State. Like, we go into the year at least with the thought that, hey, if some things fall your way, you can not only make the playoff, but, win a couple of games. Now all of a sudden you're in the Final Four. It's a different year, and I think it makes the regular season more enjoyable because we'll be watching these local teams with an eye on what it means for if they can make the playoff or win.
It's way better because you have a Week 6 loss, you lose one game, and all of a sudden now your season's over, and you're like, well, this sucks.
Well, and that's the argument for it's the best regular season ever because you lose one game, and then every game it matters. But it really doesn't though, man, because you can have a lot of these years where you've got a good enough team to make the playoff,
sure,
and one game you lose. And then you're out of like last year, Georgia.
Well,
Georgia might have been the best damn team in the country. It's like, well, yeah, but they lost that game, so that makes the regular season great.
Or the SEC championship game to Alabama. That to me was the perfect encapsulation or just example.
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
The perfect example of why you needed to expand it. You get penalized almost for playing in the SEC championship game, right? Who did Bama lose to? They lost to a worse team. Not Auburn, because they came back and beat Auburn. Georgia was a better team than Bama all year long.
Yeah.
But they lose to Bama, and now they're out of the college football playoffs. Made no sense. Then you wouldn't have any argument of Florida State. They would have been in. They got waxed by 50, and we could have just been done with that silly argument. This is going to be the greatest example of why 12 teams or 8 teams, just anything more than 4, why this is the best example of what college football can be. I don't want it to be 24.
No.
I don't want it to be. I don't even want it to be 16. 16 is going to be too much.
I was good with it. I was good with it being 6. Like, honestly, even to expand it to 5 automatic qualifiers when there was the Power 5. 5 automatic qualifiers. And then an at-large.
Well, then even if Georgia's not getting in that situation, that doesn't help you.
Well, an at-large, they would have been the at-large if you had 5 automatic qualifiers and 1 at-large. I'm saying even to expand it to that, so it wasn't just you pick these 4 teams when you've got 5 major conferences. You would have a conference champion out of the Power 5 that couldn't even play for a national championship. And so the issues that went there, it's like I don't need it expanded to where I have Arkansas State in the tournament. No. I don't need Arkansas State and team. Sorry, I don't need those teams.
Well, they go undefeated. Come on now, Jason.
I'm sorry.
Why are you hating on the Wolfpack?
I don't even know what they are. That's fine. I don't need teams like that, right? Just as I don't need the mediocre power conference basketball teams. I don't need more of them in the NCAA tournament. Whatever. That's fine. They want to expand it. They expand it. Whatever. But with this, if you were to lose a game along the way, and it's sort of like, well, yeah, but the regular season now might be more meaningless because if you lose a game, well, you can still win your conference and then you get into the playoffs. Right, but if you were to lose 2 games last year, your national championship hopes are over. Now, if you do lose a game and maybe you don't win your conference, you're still fighting for an at-large bid. You're still fighting for that ranking to be one of the at-large bid teams, which goes back to what you were fighting for to begin with when it was just the 4 teams. You were going back to having, an at-large bid or just taking the four best teams in the playoff. Like you had these automatic. So there is an avenue to win your way in, control your destiny. You can win your way in by winning your conference in the Power Four conferences. We call them Power Four, Group of Four, Autonomy Four because it was five for so long. And basketball was like Power Five plus one in the Big East, so it's got a Power Six, but without the Pac-12 now. So these four conferences, you win, you've got an avenue, and the smaller conferences have an avenue as well. You win the MAC, you win another conference, and
Tulane probably would have
got
made it 1 year.
Right, you got a chance to at least
Liberty
win your way
last
in,
year
right?
had a chance.
And as much as I say, I don't need to see the I keep going back to Arkansas State, but whatever.
The Red Wolves, by the way, the
Great.
Red, I was close. I knew there was
Good
a
for
wolf
them.
in there.
Good for them. The Wolves, Red Wolves, Blue Wolves, Black Wolves, don't care. But if you win your conference and if you're in the MAC or whatever, you win your okay, that's great. You get a chance to go and play. But for Kansas State, if they were to lose to Utah and it's their only loss, 4 teams, they're done. Now, if it's their only loss, now we can still watch and say, are they deserving of being in the college football playoff? But the regular season still matters because if you drop one along the way that you shouldn't, well, now you are having to win your conference.
Yeah.
Now you have to go undefeated the rest of the way to win your conference for your automatic qualifier to get in. And this is the first time where we are going to be watching college football through this prism of how does it relate to a playoff. We've watched college basketball so much through the prism of what does this team look like for the NCAA tournament. And that has been an argument as to why it's taken away from the regular season. But that's because there's 68 teams, right? And the 4 and 5 seed can win a national title. And it's like, yeah, but regular season, you could be the number 1 overall seed, but what does it matter? Like I was having a conversation with a guy at the pool on July 4th, and we were talking about, KU and the tournament and everything, and, Bill Self. And I'm like, you got that championship in 2022, right? And he was like, yeah, and they would have won in 20. I'm like, well, it's one of 7 teams that said they would have won in 20. And he was like, yeah, but they were the number 1 overall seed. Like, yeah, but how often does the number 1 overall seed win? That's the argument against the college basketball regular season, is that you can be the best team all year, be the number 1 overall seed, and not win. Last year, UConn, dominant. They showed their dominance. But they were, a 4 seed the year before that?
Yeah.
So how much did the regular season matter along the way? You get some matchups. The regular season is going to matter for this because there are only so many automatic qualifiers where your conference and then a couple of at-large bids. And this is a year, for the first time, we are watching all 3 schools and say, they all 3 have a chance to be playing.
A legit chance.
A legit chance to play in the playoffs.
Not like if things go right.
I think Kansas State has the best. I think Kansas State has the best route because I think they've got a better chance of the other 2 of winning their conference.
Their schedule, K-State's is it behooves them. KU's does as well. And that's why I saw when I looked up Utah. Utah doesn't play K-State. They don't play each other this year.
No, in the Big 12 championship. If it goes according to chalk, they would. But
also Utah doesn't play KU, which is kind of funny to say. That's one of the best teams in the Big 12 this year.
They don't play KU or K-State.
So if you're Utah, I now see why. I mean, that's a pretty easy schedule right there, relatively speaking, of course, right? But yeah, so Utah is probably the easiest schedule, then K-State and KU not bad. But yeah, man, with the Big 12 being down, I think overall, right, even with the addition of BYU and Utah, I think K-State has a legitimate opportunity.
I don't even think it's just being down. I mean, if Oklahoma or Texas, like this particular year, if those teams were in it, I'd still be looking at it and saying,
I would too.
K-State with how good they are.
No,
when you know with Chris Kleiman.
But even now you don't have to face
those beers,
teams.
Paige. Are you getting us beers?
Oh, I thought you brought me a
spring
Kona
water.
Big Wave.
Oh. Is this water from the lake? Because
it's from Florida.
Oh.
It's bottled at the source.
Apalachicola Forest.
Yeah.
You know where the Apalachicola?
That's where they make Coca-Cola.
Apalachicola? I'm just wondering what the accent of the locals is, how they would pronounce that. Is it Apalachicola or is it Apalachicola?
It depends if you're
Apalachicola
on the the
Apalachicola,
or if you're in the the Panhandle. If you're the Panhandle,
they're
wearing they look like Gardner Minshew. Brian on the X tweets at us and says, I need to let you swim. It's how you learn. So if you drown in there, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Now, note to self: don't yell for Brian either.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the point. You're not letting me swim. Letting me swim would be, helping me along the way. If I can't swim, then you're not letting me. It's like,
It's all about negative reinforcement, Jason.
Hey, newborn, I'm gonna put your bottle over here for you to eat. Come get it. If you want to eat, you're gonna come get it. Well, the baby is unable to move. It's a
Are
newborn.
you calling yourself a baby, or
If I can't swim, then I can't swim. You know what I mean? I can swim. I'm not saying I can't swim. This is just in general, knowing that if I were to be drowning, I know that you would just let me drown.
Well, I had
It's a metaphor in life, really, Sterling, is what it is. And now I know. Dylan, you would save me, right? You would jump right in.
Absolutely.
Thank
Without
you.
question.
I mean, you didn't save me earlier, but you're saying in the future you would now try to save me with Jalen Daniels.
Yes. Yeah, I would.
Starting now.
Starting today.
Was it on Naked?
JD.
Was it Naked Gun when Leslie Nielsen was on stage and he shoots the gun in the air? He's like, "Everybody stop it! Nobody gets hurt!" And shoots the gun, and then a guy falls from the rafters. And he goes, "Starting now!"
Yep, exactly.
forgot about that movie.
Starting now. Dylan will save me. Starting now. Moving forward.
I gave you JD. I gave you a chance.
You did. You gave me JD. I appreciate it. And that helped me along the way. It got me to Jalen Daniels. And that's awesome. So, all right, to 913-3-810-810. 913-3-810-810. To be part of the show, to text in and weigh in on different things we're talking about. We'll get into some Royals certainly. Les Norman's going to join us at noon. I believe we'll talk with Todd Lebo coming up at 11 o'clock. Todd is not answering my text. Is Todd at a casino right now? Todd is in Vegas. We're in Tahoe. Okay, so we're both in Nevada. All right, we flew. Oh, now Todd texts back. Oh, I start to call him out on the air, and then he texts. He needed a call out on the air for him to text me back.
Typical.
I mean, I'm a guy that immediately texts people back. Just immediately text people back.
Brutal.
If there's one person
I
that
called Jason yesterday. We're trying to get into the
Dylan,
taxi.
right? I text back immediately. Come on.
Oh, yeah. From my glass house over here, I text people back immediately as well.
Yeah, trying to get in touch with you boys it's like nuclear codes. Got to send the right thing.
Yeah. All right, so I got to
convince you guys just have a separate group text where you just rip on me.
Yes.
Which I'm actually
we do.
definitely
Yeah,
do. But
we do. I didn't know you knew about that. Somebody told you. So who's the narc? Who's the narc that let the cat out of the bag? So we get here and we arrived to Tahoe or to Reno. We got to drive up the hill after we get to Reno.
A hill.
So
they're Mount Sierra Nevada.
is a hill a different word for a mountain? Is a mountain a big ass hill? It's a hill still. It's still a hill. You got to drive up that hill. Running up that road, running up that hill. Isn't that a song, right? Running up that road. Anyway, so we get to Dylan. We land in Reno, and we're looking for the American Century Championship. There is official difference between hills and mountains. No kidding.
There's no official difference.
There
between
is
those.
no. I didn't see the no.
There used to be.
The no is a big is doing a lot of heavy lifting on that. And when I eliminate the word no, it changes the whole thing.
You were technically correct. I
Cool.
was actually going to pre-1950s.
You dummy.
1950s.
Would you read about it in a book
actually,
somewhere?
Less than 1,000
Update your
feet.
text there, guy. Ridiculous. Blue Valley. Dylan, that's what you get with the Blue Valley School District.
Yep, that's what you pay for,
Well, sorry, I've only got to
What your
1943.
taxes
I've
do.
not gotten to the 50s where they
Yeah,
changed
see?
mountains and hill definitions.
Yeah, maybe try at least Summit North next time. They'll let you know there's no distinction between hills and mountains. But Dylan, we arrived in Reno last night, right? And so we're heading over to the baggage claim to grab our bags and looking for the ride up the hill / mountain, Sterling, as you will. And we find the lady that's got the sign or whatever, and I walk up and I'm like, okay, so we're supposed to be getting a ride from somebody with American Century that said they'd have a car. It's under Boger, and she looked and she's like, no, we don't have anything. We don't have anything under Boger. And I'm like, I was like, okay. They said to meet at the Carousel 1, a bag claim, and there would be somebody in a gray shirt holding an American Century sign. I said, you're next to bag claim 1, Carousel 1. You're wearing a gray shirt, and you've got an American Century sign. I feel like everything is adding up except for you not having the name. And she looked again, and she goes, is it Chad? I go, yeah, Chad Boger. She goes, I just have Chad down. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I don't care. Doesn't matter. It's Chad. And she looks at me, and she goes, I'll meet you over at bag claim Carousel number 2. I've got to help this gentleman behind you because his flight was delayed, and I got to get him into his car right now, and then you guys will be next. Dylan, I turn around, and standing right behind me.
No, don't tell who it is. Description here.
Okay.
6'6".
So I turn around.
Glorious hair.
This
Lovely
is
legs.
an incredibly chiseled face, right? Just incredibly chiseled face. Blonde flowing locks. He's wearing a hat.
Chance of overrated just reigned
Oh,
out
well,
at the airport.
I know now.
I could feel an overrated quarterback that just got a big ass contract right in my presence as I turned around, and this aura of this man. And I looked back and I go, oh, of course Trevor gets to get on his car in his car before I do.
Oh, of course.
I was just joking. But were you going Trevor Lawrence there?
Oh, yeah, I was going Trevor Lawrence. I was going to jokingly say Justin Herbert, but I knew as soon as Sterling threw in the chance of overrated, I knew exactly who it was.
Yeah,
Dude,
she's
awesome.
like, I have to help this gentleman before I can help you guys. And I turn around and Trevor Lawrence is just standing there. And then, how about this? So we find out from the lady, I don't know if she was spilling tea or anything, but she was like, I feel so bad for him. She's like, his flight got delayed. They lost all of his luggage. They can't find his luggage, his golf clubs, everything. She's like, yeah, he's just having a rough time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good with him getting on the car before us because we're still waiting for our bags. The carousel's still going. We were. I felt bad for the first time in my life. I felt bad for Trevor Lawrence.
I felt bad for
For the first time in my life, I've never felt bad for him before.
I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
First off, why was he flying commercial? That's a
Great
wild
question.
move after.
Great question.
Of
He's a
course,
down-to-earth guy.
Getting that contract.
Is that right?
That you get
He's a
55
down-to-earth
mil
guy.
AAV, and you're like, you know what? No.
I feel like
Gotta save a little bit.
I feel like for all the guaranteed dollars that he just got,
Could buy a plane.
that for not even buying a plane, but for this week, just jump on that Patrick Mahomes private plane deal where you just rent it for the week or rent it there and back. It's like an Uber for planes, right? Don't rich people have an Uber for planes?
And
you just call up an Uber, get the private plane, and it flies you straight to Tahoe. You don't have to then go up the hill from Reno. You don't have to go the hour and 20-minute drive from Reno up to Tahoe. You just land right here in Tahoe.
It's a pretty ways. We got some in and out.
It's great, but it just didn't make sense. I had more questions for Trevor Lawrence as a decision maker after that than I did even before that.
Shad Khan, I mean, that's your quarterback you're giving that much money to. That's the decision.
I mean, Doug Peterson's going to be here. I'm going to have a conversation with him about it.
Doug,
what's up with your quarterback, dude?
Decision maker.
What's up with your quarterback? I feel bad for him though, in that nobody wants to go through the lost luggage and everything.
Dude.
And he's playing in a pro-am tomorrow. And he's gonna
rental clubs. I'm assuming.
Do they have rental clubs for a guy who's 6'6"?
That's my point. Yeah, good luck.
Do they have rental clubs for a man who's 6'6", 220 pounds, 230 pounds, whatever he is, man? He's a big individual in person. I will say that.
As a lefty, if you ever have to rent clubs, they're like, okay, so we have this women's set from 1997 here. You get 5 clubs. None of them.
It's better than me just standing at the tee and throwing it as far as I can. I'll try the women's clubs from '97.
I feel like this tournament is the one tournament where they may have clubs for people that are 6 foot or 6'8" or that range. This might be the only chance in the world where it happens.
Yeah, we were watching when we got to the course. We were watching Ray Allen warm up. So I think they probably have some guys that might be like and they'll have different. They'll have different manufacturers and brands that'll be out here and testing clubs for different players and everything.
So many marketing opportunities for those clubs, too.
And they know they've got some big individuals that are here. Andrew Whitworth, like we just talked. They got some big individuals. So I think he'll be able to find some clubs. He might even just be able to buy some clubs when he's here. I have heard that he came into a little bit of change recently.
A windfall of cash.
Yeah, apparently he got a little bit of change. He already had some change in his pocket too, so good for him.
I feel like if he loudly enough complains about his clubs, that he could get 3 or 4 endorsement deals, just free clubs from some of the companies out there.
Easy. I do feel bad because some of the clothes here are marked up. They're pretty pricey. So I am worried about his bottom line if he has to go and buy new clothes here.
No tweet about it. I was.
Oh, you're gonna check his Twitter?
I checked his Twitter account.
You didn't think it would just be like @Delta ! How dare you? Nice job trying to play in the American Century. And you lose my bags @Delta. Jags fans, let them know what's up.
No, I just thought maybe he would do a subtweet of when you're 13, you got on Facebook and you're like. Sterling Holmes is feeling sad right now.
Oh my God! I went back and erased a bunch of stupid stuff from Facebook. Nothing that was controversial, but just what am I even talking about here? That's just dumb. Erase it. But it was always like, is excited for the game tonight.
Yeah, that's my point.
Like I'm typing in third person. Like, what were we doing? Why were we typing in third person on Facebook back in the day? Why didn't we just put a regular post? We didn't know how to do social media. No. We were so dumb on how to do social media. Like our kids today would be like, "What are you doing? What are you dumb? You square." Like what are you you're typing in the third person?
Why did I spell school excited for a snow day at school SKOOL? Who did I think I was?
Blue Valley. There it is. I mean, you're killing them right now.
Was I part of the Ramones? I was 13.
That's Blue. Were you not in the Blue Valley School District at that time?
School district. I was.
I'm just saying. Were you not in? I kid. See, that's what the education you get at Mizzou. I kid. At least I'm at Northwest Missouri State, killing it, man. Killing it. All right, we'll take a timeout. We are hanging out. We are going to talk to Todd Lebo, who did respond and say that he was good to go to join us in the next hour. In fact, he said, sure, I can do that. He doesn't sound enthused, but we're still going to talk with him, whether he likes it or not. He is there in Vegas, down in Vegas, where you guys are listening from over in Vegas. We are up from Vegas in Lake Tahoe for the American Century Championship and going on 26 years that they have been the title sponsor for this tournament. And let me tell you, they have blown this tournament out of the water since they have taken over. It's been whether it be the exposure, whether it be the ratings, the impressions, as we're talking about social media, American Century has done yeoman's work for this particular tournament, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, Steph Curry, it's unfortunate with Team USA and that he can't defend his title this year. He is the reigning American Century Championship champion from last year, hole-in-one, Steph Curry last year, and he doesn't get to defend his title this week. I bet he certainly would love to be out here to defend his title. Patrick Mahomes won't be here this week. Tuesday is when some training camps opening up and everything like that. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We're hanging out here. Les Norman joins us at noon. We'll hear from Chris Kleiman at 1:20. K-State head coach picked second in the preseason poll. 10 points total behind Utah. One first-place vote behind Utah. Second place predicted finish, but that would put them in the Big 12 championship game and a chance to play for an automatic spot into the college football playoff this year. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We are hanging out in Lake Tahoe, American Century Championship. We're here today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and also Friday, just for S's and G's. We're going to go ahead and stay till Friday. Sterling hanging out with me, looking like he's trying to impress Miles Teller to be in Top Gun 3 with his sunglasses and his mustache. Sterling,
okay? I mean,
Dylan, how about this? Sterling got a free beer on the flight. You know why Sterling got a free beer on the flight, Dylan? Because the stewardess. No, you would think. She comes over and she goes, "You're putting off some pilot vibes right now."
Big pilot
Vibes right now to Sterling, and then didn't charge him for the beer. How about that?
What a life.
It was a little bumpy on the way down, so I don't think she could have. Really
The flight. Sorry, I didn't know what took place after she was hitting on you. I figured you were engaged, buddy. But anyway, go ahead.
I didn't do
it. Was
anything.
Vegas.
She just, I think they just got enamored with the mustache.
It happens, man.
The devilishly good looks.
Is that right? The classic good looks and the mustache.
I mean, come on.
You look like you could be a bat boy for the Yankees.
I mean, without I look like Matt Carpenter. Without confidence, all I have is my good looks, Jason. But I thought it was hilarious. As a
See,
man
but that's the thing.
who's terrified of flying.
Yeah.
The fact that she thought I give a big pilot energy means my work is working.
That's right.
My fear of flying is dissipating.
Yeah. See, the difference between me and you is like you talk about your confidence. I feel like I'm the most humble person in the world. Like, I don't think there's anybody that is as humble as I am. I mean, it's probably, if there was a humble tournament, I guarantee you I would win it. Like, it's easy. I meet people and I'm like, how unbelievably unhumble of you. Like, you are nothing. You are not nearly on my level of being humble. That's just the difference between me and you, Sterling. And that's fine. I'm not going to judge you, but, I mean, I'm about as humble as it gets. That's all I'm saying.
I really wanted Dylan to play the sarcasm liner.
No, I saw what he was doing. I actually respect it.
Waiting.
Sarcasm, what for? I'm very, very humble. Absolutely. Big 12 Media Days going on in Vegas today and tomorrow. KU will be, Lance Leipold will be talking tomorrow at 1:20. So K-State and KU both talking at 1:20. K-State today at 1:20. KU tomorrow at 1:20. But Chris Kleiman talking today at the podium. Todd Lebo has already had a conversation with Chris Kleiman. So I don't know if he was stalking him. Maybe saw him at the local Starbucks. If they rode over together, did they Uber? Did they share a ride? I'm not sure. Was Todd drinking, and so he needed to have a DD, and Chris Kleiman was the DD? I don't know what was going on in Vegas. I'm not sure. All I know is Todd has already talked to Chris Kleiman. And we'll hear some clips from K-State's head coach in just, man, I'm as pumped for college football this year as I have been. Maybe ever. Like, honestly, like, maybe ever. Like, legit, for the area here. Maybe, like, there have been years where I'm like, oh, I'm pumped to see what Mizzou can do. Right? I'm pumped to, see what this particular player might look like. But for the local area and why doing a sports radio show in Kansas City, to me, might be the best city to do sports radio in that the professional teams we have, the level of professional teams we have in football, less than a decade removed from winning a World Series with the Royals and, competing for a playoff spot, sporting the current with their only loss this year happening over the weekend. And by the way, you're damn good when a team beats you and celebrates like they just won the whole freaking league. And that's what happened with Orlando over the weekend, finally winning, and the current, suffering their first loss and celebrating like they just won the entire league over the weekend. And then you've got the college basketball area with KU, K-State, Mizzou, KU, K-State, Mizzou with football, and it's just an awesome, awesome place to do sports radio because there's so much stuff going on. And with all of that, this legit might be the most excited I've been heading into a college football season in my life. And not many of us in the area, if we grew up rooting for teams in the area, we didn't grow up rooting for blue blood football programs. we're not Todd Lebo.
I mean, come on.
We
The
didn't
Chase Daniel era was pretty solid.
Oh, that was when you were. I forgot you were growing up in the Chase Daniel era. My apologies.
I was
Sorry
young.
about that.
I mean, I was not that young, but
I was growing up in the 80s, early 90s Norm Stewart basketball, but not much for the football. Going on. K-State, not much for the football at that time. KU, not much for the football.
I went Brad Smith.
Yeah, right.
Chase Daniel, Blaine Gabbert growing up, so that was pretty.
Yeah,
not
so
bad.
not bad. You went from Brad Smith to Chase Daniel to Blaine Gabbert to James Franklin.
I just assumed Mizzou was
to Matty Mock.
Oh yeah, so Mizzou's always good, right? Is that how it works?
Gary Pinkel said he'd always have a quarterback, and he wasn't lying, man. Charlie Weiss said he'd always have a schematic advantage, and he was lying, man. That's for sure. But this is as excited I think as I've been ever for a college football season. I cannot wait. And then you throw in, the fact that the Chiefs are going for a three-peat. It's just, can't get here soon enough. And we got media days going on this week for the Big 12. Next week, SEC media days and the Chiefs at training camp. It's here, man. It's here, and it's gotten here quickly. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Sorry, we're late for break. Sterling, you wanted to sneak in one more comment?
It was
something about your mustache?
No, it was actually a quick Chiefs little thing. But
Okay.
we can hit it later on in the show. It was nothing important. Just, you brought up training camp, and I was just basically thinking, what training camp battle are you most looking forward to, or what aspect of training camp starting are you looking forward to most? But we can
talking Chiefs.
We can talk.
Actually, talking about just like what I'm most looking forward to, legit, and this is just such a macro, answer is just having the discussions of like, hey, what does this person actually look like out on the field playing? Who's running with the ones, right? Who has a chance to step up and fill the role? But it's sort of what you're talking about on the micro, like what are the individual spots in those battles? But just to have the conversation and not have the, hey, look at this ranking from CBS. Hey, look at this ranking from PFF. And those will get you through in their conversation pieces, and you look how building a team and everything. But, man, I'm ready to get back into actually talking some football and to break down, the best or second or at worst third best roster in the NFL. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up this hour. Next, we are hanging out at the American Century Championship. It's brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. Make sure to check out greenlightdispensary.com for $25 top shelf eighths and weekly promos from the vendor of the week. That's greenlightdispensary.com. More Zone next. Dylan, are we on? Dylan, are we on? Does he have it?
Got it.
Does he have it?
I'm
You got it,
looking out
Sterling.
in the mountains right now. I got enamored. Sorry.
There's a private plane coming in right there.
Yeah, I got it.
Is that Chad?
That actually, he said that could be Chad.
Is Chad landing right
That
there?
could be Chad.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I
Sterling.
might be
You got
watching Chad landing. If you love attending live events, then be sure to check out my friends at Tickets for Less. Whether it's the Royals or Chiefs or a big concert or even the KC Monarchs, TicketsForLess.com is your home for the best selection of tickets with no service fees. Plus, you can save even more on your next offer when you use promo code 810 at checkout today at TicketsForLess.com. Tickets for Less offers transparent, upfront prices so you know exactly what you're paying for. Shop and save with code 810 now at TicketsForLess.com.
State a fantastic opportunity to play in the college football playoff. No idea what's going to happen and how it's going to unfold, but KU picked to finish fourth in the, it's unbelievable. Looking at the preseason poll, and I know it came out last week and we talked briefly about it, saying that, we'll be at the Big 12 Media Days in Vegas that next week, but, Utah and then Kansas State, Oklahoma State, KU. And KU got 5 first-place votes, too. So it wasn't like, everybody, there's 5 teams that got a first-place vote in the Big 12, so should be interesting. Todd Lebo next.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We will talk with Les Norman an hour from now. Get his thoughts on some Royals, breaking the norm with Les Norman. We'll get his thoughts on Royals, baseball, life, wherever the conversation goes. Maybe golf, I don't know, maybe vacation spots, maybe hiking. My wife is on a hike right now here in Tahoe. She sent me a video, and I'm jealous of the scenery of her hike. I'm not jealous of the actual hiking and walking because that's not really something I enjoy doing.
I'll
be honest with you,
dude. Hiking.
I know, dude. You were actually jealous of the video. You're like,
said
damn.
The same thing. Where normally I used to not be like, that sucks. Like that's no fun. And then like you go hiking 1 or 2 times, you're like, okay, this is really enjoyable. I'm exercising and I don't even know it. Like
that's the best exercise. That's like when we play basketball. You know, you're running up and down the court. It's like, you know, we always tell our youngins, like, you know, we can get our conditioning in by playing basketball, or we can get our conditioning in by running. It's your choice, depending on how much you're going to be paying attention, how much you're focused on this practice. Because we can run with a basketball in our hands and playing the game, or we can just run. It is up to you what we do, and it's sort of the same thing. If you're working out and not feeling like you're working out, I'm just, you know, and maybe if I, you know, hiked and went on the walk with her today, I'd be more into it. Like the video was like, wow, that looks awesome. Like the scenery and everything, yeah, that would probably make a difference as opposed to her just like every day around the neighborhood getting 3-mile walk in. Like that to me would be so monotonous. That's just me. I just you know, no, I'm her 3-mile walk takes place while my 3-hour watching of the Royals.
Or you can just walk down the Vegas Strip, and that's your 3-mile.
You know, I got yard work, right? I got some landscaping. I'm at the baseball field with my son. You know, that's my walking that I get in. Todd, are you a walker? I know you're a base camp type guy, but are you a walker or a hiker in your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I walk,
okay.
I hike. I walked a
Good for
bunch
you,
last night when I got to Vegas looking for a meal that didn't cost $1 billion, so I walked all around.
That's different walking rather than like doing it on purpose, seeking out a place to walk.
$1 billion,
I got my steps.
Lebo? Seems like a hyperbole.
Not that much, but, you know, that's hyperbolic. There's no question about that. But I try my best to save some dollars for the company so we can keep going on trips to Las Vegas for Big 12 football media days. You know, to Lake Tahoe for the American Century. And I'm sure when you guys go out to your fancy dinner tonight, you'll think about all the steps I walked to try to get a cheap meal last night. So there you go. I'll do my part, and I don't think you guys will do your part. How about that?
Well, Todd, here's what I'll do. Here's my part. I will order last. And based on what everybody else orders is where I will go with my 3 different choices on the menu.
Oh,
there you go.
Idea.
That's it.
Then I'll order first, and I will get the filet mignon.
Yeah.
No, but
the Chad's already going to order the seafood tower, so don't worry about it. You're
going to have every single appetizer is already going to be ordered. But I'm going to wait for everybody else to order, and depending on what they are feeling, my 3 different levels of price in my menu choices will then be dictated on that. Yeah. So that's what I'll do, Todd. And I'll let you know how much we used your saving of money in your walking.
Well, here's my big mistake I did last night. So we're at the Bellagio. Listen, it's fancy, okay? The Bellagio is a fancy place. The Big 12's fancy, okay? I'm right now sitting on the field, not far. I think I'm going to get my bearings right. Which corner of the end zone did Hardman score in? Was it I'm very close to, I think, where the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I think.
Yeah, which corner that is? I mean, it would have been the left, wherever the press box is.
Say west.
It's the side with the torch, right? The Al Davis torch
I'm
side.
On the torch side. Yep. So I'm like 40 feet from where Nicole Hardman.
You got to go take a picture. You got to go take a picture. You got to go take a picture from there, dude.
I'll do that, and then so this is very fancy, very fancy. Bellagio's fancy. It's great, and you know, so we're happy to be covering this. Thanks to our sponsors, by the way. Mod Pizza and Bob Sightford for sending us out here. It's great, and we're going to get great content. We're hearing from Chris Kleiman here in a little bit. I had a chance to talk to him already today. They came out early. K-State people are great. Got to interview him before he's done anything else, so it's super. But I'm looking around for some food, and there's this little, like, every restaurant, I look at the menu, it's like $50 for everything, $100, whatever. I'm like, I don't need all that, okay? So there's this little snack bar, and it's got pizza, burgers, a $22 club sandwich, whatever. and they have a special that says slice of pizza and some garlic knots for $14. And I said, and it came with a soda. Now, I don't drink the soda. So I said, do you have iced tea? Of course they don't have iced tea. I said, well, I have a water. But then they had a little display that had beers in it, right? And I'm like, there was a Peroni Mastroza beer, whatever. It reminded me when I went to Italy last year. And I said, there's no prices on the beer. I said, I'll get a cold beer. I'll treat myself. I've just walked all over. And if you were listening this morning, which you weren't, I already lost my phone for about 2 minutes, and I ran around outside chasing a cat. Anyway,
oh no,
go back and listen to the podcast of Border Patrol for that. So
yeah, I got to check that out.
I order my food. They give it to me, and then I didn't really pay attention. I got the whole thing for under $30. It was $29 after taxes and tip and all that. So then I looked at the little receipt. The beer, it was a bottle of beer. This is not a 16-ounce bottle of beer. It's actually an 11.2. Yes, it's a foreign beer, 11.2 ounce, $11 at the freaking snack bar.
$1 per ounce?
Yes, $1 an ounce for beer.
Night.
And so I'm like, I'm done. I mean, listen, it's the middle of the week. I don't need to be drinking anyways. I thought I would after my chase of the cab, I'd get a cold beer. No, not for $11 anymore. So there you go, Chad. I'm done. I apologize, and I'm done. I'm not doing that again.
No, grow up, Lebo, and go to the tables, and you get free drinks. Just gotta tip them, and then you. Can
I understand
also
how that
share
works,
some
Sterling.
winning
I'm a
money.
grown man. But
Lebo.
I also don't want to lose. It's $50 a hand at blackjack at the.
Right.
I could go find a nickel slot somewhere and do that, but anyway.
Okay, but Lebo.
Seems like it'd be smart enough just to pay for the drinks rather than lose $50 to get a free drink.
No, you could lose $50, but you could also win $50.
I could win $50. Hey, you asked Petra about the time we sat down for 30 minutes at the Mandalay during Radio Row and how my $400 was gone. So those were expensive 2 beers I got. Anyway,
yeah, I went to I showed up at Vegas with the back when I was in the Vegas Fantasy Football League with Petro before I got married and not allowed to do such things. And I had like $200 to play for the weekend, and we go to the first place, and I've never played craps before, so I was just following advice of like Seren. It's like, okay, here's a number. I put my money on there, and it was the perfect way to get screwed. Like the dude kept rolling different numbers, and so it was like a 6, 8, 9, 10, and so I'm throwing money out there, and then craps. All that money's gone, and it happened like 3 times in a row, and all my money was gone in like 20 minutes, and I'm like, well, I'll just hang out and watch you guys. So he was like, man, that's the worst possible scenario, man. I'm like, my bad. I'm the cooler. I apologize. I'm out. I'll leave the roulette table or the craps table. You guys have some fun and start winning now because all the money was out there. All that either one of those rollers had to do was just start hitting some numbers, and I was gonna have my entire week paid for. But that wasn't what happened. And I think that's the last time I've ever played craps, and that was like in 2012.
Tough learning experience. It happens that way for
like
sure.
12 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
I was done. Anyway. I do not do that. I you know what I'm not gonna do? Play craps this weekend in Tahoe.
There was a sign this morning. I like this. I'm walking down. Listen, it's 2 hours earlier out here, so I woke up at 5, which was 7. And anyways, I showered. I walked downstairs, and I was going to pop with the Border Patrol from downstairs. And I'm walking past. It's like 5 after 6, and the craps tables. There's one of them just rolling, and then there's people at blackjack. I'm like, did they stay up all night or did they get up? The old guys. I'm like, yeah, they probably got up. And this craps table, there was like 6 guys at it, and I'm like, they've been up all night. And then next to it, there was a big sign that says, learn how to play craps. And like there was a video you could watch or something. So I should maybe have you watch that video. You could have learned how to do that. You wouldn't have lost that money. You're doing great.
Well, I mean, apparently I was set up to win big and back-to-back
But you
rolls.
just didn't have enough money. You'll always win if you have enough money to keep betting.
Exactly. You know what? You know what I've always said, Todd? Double up, catch up.
That's it.
I put $100 on black. Oh, it came up red. That's okay. $200 on black. It came up red. You know what? $400 on black. I'll get there. I'm going to get there. Just double up, catch up.
But hear me out. Eventually, you're going to hit, and then you made
unless
all
you're
your
out of money.
Well,
unless you actually run out of money.
Well, just don't run out of money.
Yeah. There's also limits on the tables where you can't get to that. So.
Well, you know what I've always said, Todd? Bet for the streak to stop.
That's it. That's how it works.
Bet against the trend. That's what I would do. That's why every time Schreiber goes to the mound for the Royals, I put money on him to have a perfect inning.
It's going to happen.
Just bet on the trend to end. It'll happen eventually.
Dude.
So you were there. Yeah, you were there in Vegas, and big shout out to our sponsors, Bob Allen Ford. All Fords are created equal. It's the dealer that makes the difference. Experience Bob Allen Ford difference today. BobAllenFord.com and Mod Pizza. Unlimited toppings, one price. By the way, love Mod Pizza.
So good.
Check out one of the 7 KC area locations or learn more at modpizza.com. Every time I talk about Mod Pizza, I'm like, damn it, I got to get back there.
I got to go get it.
And then we don't get around to do it. Dude, I freaking love Mod Pizza. But Todd, you did get a chance to talk to Chris Kleiman. Was this like on an Uber? Were you at the blackjack table with Chris Kleiman? Was he giving you a ride somewhere? Did you have a meal with him, or is he already going through the media rounds this morning?
We were sitting right here at the little table that I'm broadcasting at right now, and they're not due on the podium for a while, and there's lots of places they have to go.
And by the way, real quick, Todd, to let the K-State fans know, at 1:20 we'll have Chris Kleiman live. Here on Sports Radio 810. So we'll play the press conference for Chris Kleiman at 1:20.
Play a little bit after. I don't know. We'll work that out. We'll get that worked out.
We'll have it for the K-State fans on Sports Radio 810 WHB today. That's for sure.
We will. We'll definitely have it.
You.
So I chatted with him. We're not going to play the whole thing here. I talked to him for like 19 minutes. It's a great conversation. I know the whole thing will play tonight in the bonus hour, but I want to play a chunk here, about 5 minutes, and this is about NIL, because I talked to him about football and the team and all that stuff too, but one of the things that is new for these coaches is NIL. And believe it or not, he's been at K-State as a head coach for longer than he was at North Dakota State. The time flies. He's been here for a while now. And I remember being out there when he got hired, how much the landscape of college football has changed. Like the teams that are in this league have changed. The rules have changed. The transfer portal and all the NIL stuff has changed. And that's where I started talking to him about, with this chunk here about NIL, is kind of just what you have to do with this. You either kind of adapt to it or you go away, and he says you just have to play the game.
You have to embrace it. You have to adapt and adjust, and it's become really strong at K-State. We have a group with Wildcat NIL that has done a terrific job of raising some money and taking care of athletes. And then we've had some other private entities that have come up and stepped up and done some really good things as well. And you're right, you got to embrace it, and it's been very positive. And the fact that there's a lot of student athletes benefiting off it. It's not just football and men's basketball. There's a lot of other sports that are doing really well, and it's an important piece to the recruiting now. And you're right, this will be going on year 6 already at K-State, and once the pandemic ended and 21 seemed normal, and then 22 started to change, and then 23, it all flipped with NIL and the portal.
And there's something, maybe, I'm not putting words in your mouth, you're an old school guy, relationships, recruiting, and all that stuff. There's a very interesting article in The Athletic just came out today with a bunch of Kansas City coaches talking about your approach and how they love it, and it's a holistic approach about making the guy a better guy and all that kind of stuff. But are you hearing now, when you make an initial reach out to someone, what can we get? I mean, is that a question now?
Yeah, it's something that it's brought up, but I just don't want that in the first 5-10 minutes of the conversation. I still want the same thing that you do. How can I develop to be the best football player I can be? How can I develop to be the best community member, father, husband in time? How can I, have success academically and be a part of a culture and be a part of something that is probably bigger than myself, but it's going to build towards team success. And with that, and we've told a lot of our guys, with the team success comes individual success. And that individual success then relates to guys getting some really good NIL deals. And but it ultimately comes up, and it's one of the things that we're driving it as well as the student athletes. But to start the conversation off like that, we still want them to come to K-State because they want to be at K-State. And that's what we've been fortunate on. We've had some guys do really well with NIL, but they also want to be at K-State. And I think that's the most important factor. When you get 120 guys in the locker room, you want to make sure that there's great leadership, great culture. Guys are helping each other out with some guys that maybe are getting a little bit more financially on NIL, taking care of some of their teammates too.
We're talking to Chris Kleiman, head coach of K-State football, and we are out in Las Vegas for Big 12 football media days. And Coach, the other side of that is the relationship side. This is what I thought was going to be an issue at the very beginning. You tell me if this has been an issue anywhere. I see this happen in professional sports. Well, that guy's making more than me. I'm doing more than him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Have you seen that in the locker room with, because we know how it works. Quarterbacks make more money.
Yep.
And that's just the way it goes. Is there been jealousy? Has there been things, or that's just something you never thought you had to coach before?
You didn't think you had to coach. Now you definitely do. But it's pretty simple. You look at NFL football. Patrick Mahomes is going to make more than most people, and so the quarterback's going to probably make more at most institutions. And then, boy, you need a great wide receiver, a great tackle, a great corner, whatever it may be. But I really believe enough of it to go around, and for us, we're trying to help as many kids as we can, and maybe it's that walk-on kid that busts his tail and is on some special teams to help that kid out as well. So I'm sure that gets talked about in the locker room, but in the same respect, if you look at it and say, okay, where's the production at? Typically, that production is high enough that those guys are deserving of that.
Are these deals, I'm using air quotes here, I mean, are they like guaranteed contracts? I mean, if a kid transfers, what happens then? I mean, are these things we don't even know yet?
Yeah, we're still learning, honestly. It'd be better for our people that run Wildcat NIL, honestly, to talk about the contracts, because as the head coach, maybe other people are different. I'm not involved in it. And
you want it that way.
Yeah, you really do, because you don't want that kid coming in the office and saying, why is Todd making more than Chris? And our director of roster management handles it with the collectives, and then there's maybe a third party that the student athlete has, and then there's conversations, and then there's definitely paperwork that's drawn up, but I don't know all the ramifications of leaving it and those things. I've tried to stay away from those. And let the people that – I've got enough things on my plate right now, Todd.
It's harder now to coach than it ever was, right, with those things?
It really isn't, and all of us coaches look forward to really August 1st, even though, okay, you're going to start a grind for 6 months, but some of that stuff kind of quiets down, and now it's just time to play football and build your team. And so come for us, July, I think 30 or 31st is our start date, that we'll be ready to just talk football.
Talking football. That's what coaches want to do, but this is just a part of their job now, guys. It's just a different thing that they did not have to do before. And we've seen some coaches in different sports just like, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. I think we're seeing more. It used to be you saw like pro assistants and things like that, like maybe you want to go be in college, but now we're seeing it kind of go the other way. Like, I don't want to deal with all this stuff. I don't want to deal with transfer portal. I don't want to deal with NIL. I just want to coach football. Each individual is going to be a little bit different. But I like Chris Kleiman's measured approach. They have people doing a good job with it. He's going to coach football. He's going to help facilitate when he can. But he doesn't want to know all the nitty-gritty on how it all works.
Well, that to me is really interesting when he talked about that. My main takeaway is when he said, why is Todd making more than Chris? I have the same question. Why is Todd Lebo making more than Chris Kleiman?
I wish
have
I
my
wrote
answer, but why is Todd making more than Chris?
I'll be one and done. 1 year and I'm out, guys.
Sorry. I got 1 year left on my career, and
you know what, Todd? I think you deserve it, Lebo.
Yes.
I do.
Deserve it.
But it is fascinating in the landscape, Todd, that's changed just in the last few years when he talks about the contracts, which is a great question because like everybody's still navigating these waters for the first time, like trying to figure it out in real time. When he said, I'm not involved in it, we've got our director of roster management that works with the NIL. Then there's a third party representing the player. Paperwork's drawn up. Like, it's not just, hey, we'll recruit you and pay you under the table anymore. Or, excuse me, we'll just recruit you and you come here because you love the school. Sorry, I don't know where that first part came from. Like, there's so many, like a director of roster management. I mean, there's a new title. There's a new employee. There's a new, representative of the
that used to be
program.
A job that someone just said, all right, we have 14 scholarships this year, 16 next year. It's
right.
way more complicated now. It's way more complicated now.
Now we've got 15 scholarships that we can use for this recruiting class overall, but we've got this amount of money with the Wildcat NIL.
I mean, it's like crazy,
and this cornerback's looking for this, and if we don't get this cornerback with that money, we can use that over here with this particular player. And as he said, look, wide receiver, tackle, corner. I thought that was QB. QB was the first one he said when he talks about Patrick Mahomes, but and then wide receiver, tackle, corner. And when he said, where's the production? It's typically where you're going to see the guys that are making that money, and it sort of tends to even out. But I thought it was also cool when he talked about, hey, how about the walk-on? Maybe that guy's busted his butt, and then he deserves some NIL money thrown his way. That's different than just the stories that we've seen in the past, Todd, of which we all love. Of hey, Ryan, Jeffers, he's now on scholarship, and the whole team goes crazy. Those stories are awesome. Now it might be he's now on scholarship, and here's his stipend, and here's his NIL contract to go along with it.
Now, the parents are much more excited about the scholarship because that's still more money than the $200 or $300 they're going to throw them on some NIL thing for those guys.
I remember Stan Weber telling the story about who was it that got the scholarship after walking? Was it Stanton?
I think Stanton was first. Landry ended up getting one too. They both did.
Yeah, Landry. Yeah.
Stanton. Yeah.
Yeah, but he told the story. He was like, "Boy, I was happier than he was."
Absolutely. And Grunny, I remember Grunny when his kid got put on a scholarship at Notre Dame, and Trent Green too. I mean, those are expensive schools, Notre Dame and Northwestern. And you're up there and you do that. You eventually get on. You're like, wow. I mean, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Even for guys who played in the National Football League and made a lot of money, you don't like scratching those checks. So it's can you imagine if you get that scholarship at a really expensive school and you didn't play in the NFL? You know what I mean? It's just how important that is. But it is definitely something that is different than they've ever dealt with before, and it's not going away anytime soon. And it honestly changes every year. It really does. And state by state and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, leave a quick thing here, and I'm probably reading into this way too much. But when Chris Kleiman was talking about how it's not just the money in NIL, but it's also getting guys that want to be at K-State, want to be at Manhattan, and love being a Wildcat. A little different than the previous head coach there, right? Little different than you can't get guys to come here. You can't get guys to come.
Bruce Weber.
Bill Snyder, I don't think ever complained about that.
Not Bill. I was thinking about Bruce Weber, but just a little bit of along that line. Maybe I'm just reading too much, but I really enjoyed him talking about it. It wasn't just the money, but the guys that want to be part of K-State and Manhattan.
Well, and I think
that's
what K-State has right now. That's so important. I mean, we don't know if he's their best player, but Avery Johnson looks like he's going to be their bell cow quarterback. Okay. And he's not just a guy who came there from somewhere in Florida. He grew up loving K-State. You can't hardly quantify how important that is because people are going to come for players on your roster. Hey, come over here, come do this, come do that. And I think that is so important to have that guy committed to your school because if he's not, and it helps to have him be from Kansas and grow up and wanting to be a Wildcat and all that because we've seen these things are fleeting, right? I mean, right here in our backyard, none of us are home right now, but Lee Summit North, that Caden Green, right, the big offensive tackle, went to Oklahoma, and then he was there for a year. He played. Next thing you know, all right, I'm gone. I got a better NIL deal. I'm going to go to Mizzou. That can happen real quick on you. And listen, a guy who's playing guard who may play tackle, that's one thing. You can't have your quarterback be that guy who goes and does that. So I don't know if they can always find some kid who's committed to being a K-Stater who's a 4 or 5-star player who looks like he's got that kind of future because there aren't as many kids in the state of Kansas who can go do that. But right now, they think they have one, and that's super important in today's age.
Well, and it's not only that. Like you get that kid that grew up loving K-State and is a stud player. That guy goes and recruits for you too because he passes along what's to love about K-State. Like somebody that's a 4-star kid, high level 3-star kid that's like from Florida and maybe met Avery Johnson on some 7-on-7 or camps or something like that, or just different things out there. And it's like Avery, you're going to K-State. Why? Let me tell you about all the cool things about K-State. And I know you're in Florida. You got this, this, and this. But that guy's out there recruiting. I'm going to give you 3 names, Todd. And tell me what these 3 names mean, and maybe you've already seen this, but Dylan Gabriel was number 1, Connor Wegman at Texas A&M number 2, Carson Beck at Georgia number 4, Avery Johnson number 3.
Is that the Heisman odds?
No. Those are with minimum 100 action plays, so not just handing the ball off to the running back, but you have to have 100 action plays last year. Those are the top 4 returning in total QBR. Dylan Gabriel, Connor Wegman, Avery Johnson, Carson Beck.
Well,
now,
when they're not all returning to their same school.
Exactly, because one's at Oregon now, and Dylan Gabriel. But to be fair, I think a good portion of QBR as opposed to quarterback rating, QBR accounts for the running, and Avery Johnson was really dangerous. But he still had 13 yards per completion. He didn't throw a pick. He had a number of touchdowns. He completed almost 60% of his passes. For a true freshman that was sort of change of pace guy, like, you got a taste of what he can do.
They got a real taste in the bowl game, and that was what I wanted to see.
Right.
This was your game. You're going to play, and he didn't make mistakes. And listen, his passing percentage, like 56% or something, that needs to be better in 2024.
For sure.
That's not the way you play football in 2024, and it will be. It'll definitely be better in 2024. He'll be a big part of it. Listen, I think this team is ranked right where they should be. They're almost first in this league. Utah's got a track record, and that's the pick barely at number one in the league.
By one first place vote different from K-State. Yeah.
But I think this team. Listen, they lost 4 games last year. You think back to those games. The 61-yard field goal to Missouri was a loss, right? Mm-hmm. They had the overtime against Texas, who, by the way, was in the college football playoff. That was a loss. They had the insane, weird game in the snow at home where Iowa State caught like 6 passes for 700 yards and had no other plays. And then they had the weird one where they turned the ball over a bunch down in Stillwater on like a Thursday night or something. They were right in all of these games. They very easily could have been in the title last year, and I think they're going to compete again this year. Now, here's the thing. It's going to be Avery's first year of playing the whole time, and that's always a little scary when it's your first year doing it all. But I think they got him enough of a taste last year and the whole bowl game where he won't be like a guy who's never played before.
Yeah. I mean, the
offensive
Big 12
lines are different, so they lost a lot of offensive lines.
They lost 3 of the 5. I mean, they got some return. They lost Ben Sennett and Phillip Brooks. Like, they got some guys to replace. But to me, it's like the quarterbacks there in the Big 12. I mean, is it Cam Rising? Can he stay healthy? And Avery Johnson, can he live up to some of the hype, and can he realize some of those expectations and be close to what people think he can be? Because, I talked about the total QBR of at least 100 action plays from last year. Career total QBR of all returning quarterbacks in college football, Carson Beck 1, Cam Rising 2. So, I mean, if he's healthy, Cam Rising is a phenomenal player.
Cam Rising is also 70 years old, I think.
He's 32 years old. I think he's actually going for his third contract in the NFL.
It's crazy.
One other quick one here with that, and then we'll let you go, Todd, because I know Yormark's going to talk in about 28 minutes or so. But the question about the locker room and any jealousy between NIL and this guy getting that, I mean, I really wonder how much college football coaches would just walk down the hall to ask the baseball coach about, hey, how do you deal with this? Because not everybody gets the same. They got 11 scholarships for 25 players, and a guy might be batting third on, a 12% scholarship, and a guy that's a fourth outfielder that was a big-time recruit at one point is sitting at a 60% scholarship, and, it's like, dude, that guy sucks. Well, it may not be the amount of money that we're talking about in NIL now, where you talk about, like, life-changing nest eggs of, like, 6 and maybe 7 figures, but that can cause issues in a baseball locker room of, like, man, I'm the number 3 hitter. And, I wasn't the biggest recruit out of high school. But I'm batting third in this lineup, and that guy's got double percentage of my scholarship, and he's, pinch running in the 9th inning. Like, I think baseball coaches have had to deal with this, so they have a little bit of a background and a history in what to do with this thing.
Oh, for sure. And that's, kind of dealing with that side of it. But, again, they've always dealt with playing time issues, right?
Yeah.
Like, why am I not doing this? I'm practicing hard. I'm doing this stuff, But they haven't had to deal with this side of it, and it'll be interesting. And like I said, it changes constantly. It's a constantly moving target, and the rules change, and they'll have to just keep dealing with it because either you do or you don't, right? And the guys who are doing it now, they want to keep doing it. Here's my little tidbit for you for Cam Rising. Did you know that Cam Rising was on Texas roster in 2018? That's where he went to school first. Okay, so he was Charles Amenahue's teammate.
And Amenahue's on his second contract.
Yeah, on his second contract. Sam Ellinger was a sophomore when he was there.
And now he's working with the Royals.
I was living in Philly. Long ago.
I had one child, and I was living in Louisville.
Now, here's another thing.
It's unbelievable.
Here's another one. So, this is another guy. Look this guy up. Casey Thompson was on that team as a freshman as well. And I think Casey Thompson is now at his 4th school. Charles Thompson, the former Oklahoma quarterback's son, He played Texas, Nebraska, Florida Atlantic, and I think he's actually on OU's roster now. So we're talking about some experienced dudes.
He is.
So Cam Rising was on the 2018 Texas roster. That's when 2018 is when Kyler Murray was the Heisman Trophy winner. He's been in the league for how long? And Cam Rising is still on a college roster. So.
Absolutely unbelievable, man. Todd, what do you think we'll hear from Brett Yormark? Will we get an idea on some, housekeeping, like the Big 12 basketball tournament or some other things in the future or international games? Like, what do you think we'll hear from Yormark coming up in about 20 minutes?
Well, probably some of that. He'll probably say, listen, it's an ever-changing world. We think we're good with our teams we have now, these schools we have now, I think we'll hear that. I did I was on the bus today with a Big 12 executive, and we were just talking about the Big 12 tournament. It's in Kansas City. They signed a contract. But he did say that there will be some double buys and, all 16 teams will go. So we'll get that bracket.
That's
so
good to know.
I think they feel like that is going to be really make people keep playing to get a top 4 seed, right? Kind of do those things. So, but I don't know if we'll get an official word on that, but that's kind of it's good. They want everyone here. They want everyone to come to Kansas City. They want everyone to do that. And have a part, but it's going to be a long tournament with 16 teams and buys.
I mean, we've seen the SEC with double buys and how how crucial it is to not be playing on Wednesday and have to wait till and get to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's it. As opposed to playing Wednesday and the Big East. I mean, we'll talk about
Kimball
Walker.
20 teams back in the day. They played
5 games
in that. Five.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah, 5 games in 5 days when Kimba, and then they went and won 6 games over the next 3 weeks. So. Yeah, that was an amazing run. Todd, we'll let you get your run in. Go take that picture, man, where McCole Hardman caught the football on a little Tom and Jerry there for the Super Bowl. Appreciate you, brother, as always, man.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. There's Todd Lebo. Great stuff there in Vegas. As Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark will talk today at noon. And it's interesting. It's good to know. There was that question out there of, what the Big 12 tournament was going to look like here in Kansas City. Were all 16 teams? I mean, it'd be odd to not have that. I mean, we say that in baseball, which I still think is dumb, but whatever. Where teams don't make their conference tournament in baseball. I mean, you're a big time conference. Figure it out how to set up a damn bracket. But in basketball, it's would we really be discussing them not having all 16 teams play in the Big 12 tournament? You can figure it out. And it looks like hey, top 4 seeds get a double bye, and then the next 4. We'll get a bye, and then after that, the teams will play, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
If I can figure out a porch drinking beer bracket, then the Big 12 and other conferences can figure out brackets and how they
we figured out to play cornhole. I mean, how many brackets we figured that out? You can do that, Big 12.
We were 19 beers deep and figured out how to get a basketball and cornhole tournament figured out on a bachelor party. If we can do that, you guys can figure this out. Quick question or quick statement before we got a break there. I've still been very impressed with the Big 12 in totality. Maybe I'm giving too much credit here. With all of the moving pieces in college sports, the Big 12 easily could have gone the way of the Pac-12, right?
Yeah.
Then they lose Oklahoma and Texas. But with them gaining UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, Arizona State, bringing back Colorado. Houston obviously was a phenomenal addition. They brought in some bigger name teams that they could have gone the way of the ACC. They could have gone the way of the Pac-12. And yes, losing Oklahoma and Texas were massive. But you look around, and I think the Big 12 is as strong as they've been in how many years? Now
Oklahoma and Texas saved the Big 12 in a random way because Oklahoma and Texas, when they decided to go to the SEC, and then USC and UCLA said, "Well, bleep this, we're going to the Big 10."
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the Pac-12 was like, "Oh my God, we're falling apart." And now the Big 12 scavenged the Pac-12 and remained a viable conference. Because Oklahoma and Texas left.
Yes.
In a strange turn of events.
The year prior, though, the years when they brought it, Houston, phenomenal. BYU, phenomenal. Cincinnati, great. UCF, whatever your thoughts are on them as a athletic, not great necessarily athletically, but they bring in a massive market, a massive amount of eyes and money to the Big 12. So I've just been impressed, and of course with the Pac-12, just them eating into the Pac-12. I'm just very impressed with. There was so much uncertainty, and now it seems like they actually have a nice groundwork laid out for the future, and that's. If you're in the Big 12, and obviously us in Kansas City, obviously at Mizzou alum, a little different, rooting-wise, but work-wise, seeing what they've done, I've been very impressed with the Big 12.
I love the Big 12 tournament, man. It's one of my favorite weeks, and I love that it's going to be here for a long time and continuing to be here. But yeah, so Brett Yormark will talk at noon. We'll see what he has to say. But yeah, December is when the Big 12 Mexico with KU and Houston. Playing in that international game in basketball, obviously not in football, but and the Big 12's expansion, yet again, second time in 3 years, that they've had that happen, and so we'll see what he has to say. But appreciate Todd Lebo. He is there in Vegas. Our coverage of the Big 12 Media Days today and tomorrow. Lance Leipold and KU will be. Have their day tomorrow, but it's presented by Bob Allen Ford. All Fords are created equal. It's the dealer that makes the difference. Experience the Bob Allen Ford difference today at boballenford.com. And Mod Pizza, where you get unlimited toppings for one price. Check one out of their seven KC area locations, or learn more at modpizza.com. We'll take a timeout, and on the other side, Todd had mentioned the story from The Athletic with Chris Kleiman, and I heard Steven and the boys talking about this morning, and this was a really cool story that was done at The Athletic by Scott Docterman and Jesse Temple that came out this morning. And they talked to Kansas City high school football coaches on the region's best recruiters, the impact of NIL, and all of the high school coaches were granted anonymity to talk about specifically, all right, go on record anonymously, but, I want to know what you think of Lance Leipold, Chris Kleiman, and Eli Drinkwitz. And they wrote the quotes and what the local high school coaches thought about those particular coaches. And that's where Todd said, Chris, you've got some pretty high marks from the local high school coaches in that particular story. But I want to talk about that on the other side and some of those quotes that are really interesting with the local schools. We'll take a timeout, come back, more Zone next. some Royals, some baseball, some life lessons, some just conversations breaking the norm with Les Norman. Our coverage here at the American Century Championship as we're hanging out in Lake Tahoe. It is brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. July is Flower Frenzy Month at Greenlight Dispensary. Make sure to check out greenlightdispensary.com for $25 top shelf eighths and weekly promos from the vendor of the week. That's greenlightdispensary.com. Thank you to Todd Lebo joining us as he was there in Vegas. The Big 12 Media Days going on today. Kansas State. They are there in Vegas today. Tomorrow will be KU. But TCU, Kansas State, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Houston, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State today. And then tomorrow will be Colorado, KU, West Virginia, BYU, UCF, Baylor, Houston, and Arizona. We'll be talking tomorrow. And Utah as well, right? Where's Utah?
Wow, are they too good? They joined and said, we are
here,
too good,
but
even though they
somewhere.
are the closest.
They're definitely going to be talking. That's for sure. No doubt about that. Oh, it's they're today. It was misprint. It's actually Texas. Utah's today at 2:20. But that's just the head coach. But yeah, Utah's there today. So you've got the top three votes in finishing preseason media poll going today, in Utah, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State, and then KU tomorrow picked to finish fourth in the Big 12. But I heard Stephen talking about the story this morning in The Athletic about the local high school coaches and the three local schools head coaches and how they recruit. And because we're talking about Chris Kleiman, and tomorrow will be Lance Leipold, and next week with Eli Drinkwitz, I do want to, 1 o'clock hour we'll have open, and so maybe we can talk a little bit more about this. But you had mentioned, previous coaching, meaning Bruce Weber, but, Kansas State went from Bill Snyder to Ron Prince to then back to Bill Snyder, thankfully, and now to Chris Kleiman. And they clearly, Gene Taylor clearly got it right.
Yes.
I mean, there are fits for coaches and programs and culture, and then there's K-State and Chris Kleiman. That is like, it's one of those marriages to where it's like, hey, how'd you guys stay married for 70 years? Like one of those things. And
you're soulmates.
Soulmates, I just knew it. Like, they are as perfect of a fit as any coach program that I think I can ever remember. Like, it's just such an easy, like, oh, that makes total sense. And one of the coaches in this story, anonymous coaches, talking about the question is, what are your impressions of Chris Kleiman and his staff at K-State? And the coach says, he's a blue-collar grinder, doesn't want the spotlight, just wants to coach football. And he's going to make sure and cross the T's, dot the I's, and is very much like Bill Snyder. He's going to be very thorough. He's going to be very honest. I can see why he's been so successful. And when you invoke the name of Bill Snyder, which has been brought up a lot, with Chris Kleiman, it's like, man, there's so much Bill Snyder to Chris Kleiman. Now, I don't know if Chris Kleiman is handwriting notes to people, like Bill Snyder did.
It's a nice touch, though, man. When you get a handwritten note, you do feel pretty good.
You want to know you want an idea of all you need to know about somebody. And what kind of person they are?
Golf swing.
No. You watching Derek Lowe swing right now on the range? I'm assuming he's making the turn and just getting a few practice swings in.
You know what that means?
What's that? He's
Fred and I didn't go well.
Yeah, so that's right.
That's a nice swing.
Need to work through the swing here. But all you need to know about a guy, just to sort of have an idea of what type of person he is the fact that if you write to him, he will handwrite the note back. Not just type it up and sign it, but handwrite the note. When Shane was moving over from, producing the show for us to then moving over to traffic, and we had the, going away for Shane, we reached out to Bill Snyder. And Bill Snyder wrote him a handwritten note for Shane, just for, being a K-State fan and getting a promotion, right? And it was
that's incredible.
Just so cool. Like, you reach out to him, and he's like, yeah, no problem. And he gets it done. And he went out of his way, by the way. He went out of his way to make sure that Corey could pick it up. Like, it was one of those to where, by the time we, got around to having the idea of all the different things we want to do for Shane, we were running a little low on time in terms of maybe sending it in the mail. So Bill Snyder started working with Corey Anderson in how to meet up to hand him the note.
Wow. What a dude.
And this is not to dismiss Shane at all, because I love Shane, and Shane's a hard freaking worker. But it's like, it wasn't for, hey, Andy Reid would like this note. You know what I mean? It's like, Shane, K-State fan, great dude, but could be any K-State fan out there. Like, it didn't matter that it was Shane. Like, it wasn't differentiating between him and anybody else. It was just, well, this is what I'm going to do, because this is just who I am. Like, man, there aren't many Bill Snyders out there. I wish there were more. Maybe there are a lot of Bill Snyders out there. We just don't hear about it enough in the world. But it's hard to find the next guy. Like, you have that guy that you're like, man, you'll never have that again. Enjoy it while you have it. And it took K-State one try with Ron Prince. And luckily, Bill Snyder then came back to right the ship, get that thing going. And then to find Chris Kleiman and think, did you really do it again?
It's the Packers with quarterbacks, and it's K-State with head coaches.
Dude, it's like, did you really do it again? Like, did you really find the perfect coach for your program and culture? Like, it's absurd. Like, programs go decades searching for what K-State's done 2 out of 3 times. I mean, it's absurd, man. I'm such a Chris Kleiman fan, and he has never sent me a handwritten note, and I think that's where he's failing. But no, I mean, it's the first coach weighing in on Chris Kleiman. Like, dude, blue collar, not looking for the spotlight. He's just going to be thorough. He's going to make sure everything is in the place that it needs to be. Very much like Bill Snyder, and all of those things in terms of how he recruits and just comes around. Tells you all you need to know about why he's successful as a football coach. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll wrap up this hour hanging out in Lake Tahoe American Century Championship with that tournament officially starting on Friday, Saturday, Sunday on NBC and Peacock. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up this hour next. whether we hear from Chris Kleiman on the podium or we bring that to you in some way, shape, or form today on Sports Radio 810 WHB, we will have that for you today. But we'll get into some more Big 12 football. I do want to get into more of that athletic article about the local high school coaches, looking at Lance Leipold and Eli Drinkwitz, as well as some of the quotes about Chris Kleiman. But hung out with Todd Lebo, who's in Vegas at the Big 12 Media Days going on today. We are hanging out in Lake Tahoe today through Friday, doing our show as the American Century Championship, and just an amazing company, fantastic company, Kansas City company, 26th year being the title sponsor of this tournament. We will take a timeout. We'll talk some baseball and some life with Les Norman next. Days tomorrow in Vegas. Chiefs reporting on Tuesday. SEC Media Days next week. So we are hot and heavy now. All-Star game as well. And speaking of baseball, we hang out with Les Norman, our man Breaking the Norm, presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Biesterveld and Crook, victim of a wrongful personal injury and seeking compensation. Then call Biesterveld and Crook at 913-LAW-5050. That's 913-LAW-5050. Les, what's up, brother? How are you, sir?
Man, Lake Tahoe and golf. I'm not sure if I'm happy for you or I want to hang the phone up.
Yes. Either one would be an appropriate response.
It could be both. You could be happy for us and hang the phone. You could join us.
I'm happy for you, but I don't want to hear you talk about it, damn it.
Yep, that about sums it up. But no, I'll hang in there, man. I'll let the good guys enjoy some time, so I'm happy for you and glad you're out there.
Have you been to Tahoe before, Les?
I have not. I've heard about 8,000 different people tell me how amazing and beautiful and wonderful it is.
You should not come here. It sucks. You're not missing anything at all, Les, so don't feel bad. It's the
I've
worst.
already seen the pictures, man. It's no use.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely beautiful. They need to get you in this tournament, Les. That's the problem. They need Les Norman here. What's your handicap?
Really high. Yeah, it's not that I would definitely be spectator only or media member only coming out there, but definitely tourist. So that would be okay. I wouldn't mind coming out for that part.
No, man. I mean, they got come on. Charles Barkley's in this thing. The Miz. Those guys aren't exactly swinging the wrenches around. I mean, Charles Barkley's 7,500 to 1 to win this tournament. But you'd be fine. You fit right in with some of them. As long as you just be you.
I've seen some bad swings, Les. I have seen some chunks. I've seen some Hazel rockets. I've heard a couple fours already, and then I also saw some dudes who look like they are scratch. There's a wide array. Some people are here for the golf, and some people are probably here for the cigars and booze.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice combo.
Yeah, Larry the Cable Guy's here for the party. Right, here to just hang out and have a good time and be Larry the Cable Guy. Like, that's what's great about it. You got guys that are here, like Marty Fish, to win the tournament. Marty. I can't say Marty Fish without sounding like the Ozarks, but Marty. You got guys like that, and Romo, and then you got guys who are here just to enjoy themselves, have fun. Like the Miz is going to be the life of the party everywhere he goes, man. That's just what happens when you're, in one of the big time wrestlers in the world. So. Les Norman is our guest. All right, let's talk a little baseball with you. The Royals get 4 All-Star selections as a part of the team this year. Is that right around where you thought they would be? I didn't ask you last week. I should have asked you last week of what your prediction would be for how many All-Stars they get to represent on the team. I would have guessed 3. I would have guessed Bobby Witt, Salvi, and Seth Lugo. I didn't know if Cole Reagans would be a part of the team, but my guess would have been 3, those guys. How many did you think they would get, before the names came out?
Yeah, I was going minimum 4 because I had Cole Reagans in on it. I know that's kind of a hindsight thing, you could think, but I think that when your peers and other coaches have opportunities to look at the roster, I mean, how many hitters out there would not think that Cole Reagans just made him look disgusting at the plate? I mean, and it's not even just his record, it's his stuff and his story behind it. And thank you, Texas, for wanting Aroldis Chapman. We appreciate that handoff.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I had minimum 4. Early on, if you asked me a couple months ago, it might have been 5. But maybe one more pitcher mixed in there, but that kind of leveled off. So yeah, I think 4 was about my prediction, maybe 5.
Yeah, I would have guessed 3. I didn't know if Cole Reagans would get in, but it's a great point, Les, and that's where I love the baseball side of talking with you, and not just sort of the the broadcast or media side or just fan side watching. And when you talk about the players, and it's like, well, I'm looking at the numbers, comparing them to other players and numbers, and you're like, yeah, but the players know who's got the stuff. The players know who the studs are, and the players are looking at it and going, no, we got to vote. Yeah, Cole Reagans an All-Star, which. By the way, which is a great sort of feather in the cap of the Royals just in general, not necessarily the acquiring, but even if the numbers aren't great, like the other players around the league recognize what is inside of Cole Reagans as to how great he can be.
Right. Absolutely. I think we've talked about this before, but a long time ago, I was, I think, still playing at the time, so it was a long time ago. And Anthony Young was a pitcher for the Cubs, and I think there was a stretch where he was like 2-21 or some crazy stat. Like you look at his win-loss, you're thinking that guy's horrible, but then he was like in the top 3 in ERA in the National League because the Cubs were averaging like 1 point something or really low run support per game every time he
Brady Singer run support
this
year.
Brady Singer. Brady Singer, like on steroids wise, it was so bad. So, the players know, and I'm just glad that somehow that they don't take away all the voting from coaches and players because they know, and it's not always about the numbers. It's not always about analytics. Sorry, Sterling, love you. Not always about those numbers.
I didn't say it's all about it. Wait a minute, I'm the most nuanced man. I'm a nuanced
Shove
man.
that down your pie hole. Take that one, Sterling.
What?
You're saying
How am I the pinnacle of being a nerd? Look at me right now. I look like I should be a Magnum PI.
You're not a nerd. I know your athletic prowess, buddy. I know you're a softball golf warrior. I understand. So you're not in that category. I just know that you're really good at the analytics side.
We're all nerds. We're all nerds, man.
In some way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, we watch a bunch of guys go out there dressed up in matching outfits and play a game, and then we break down their numbers and who's better and not, and we collect cards from it and play fantasy. Like, there's a world where people would be like, "Holy bleep, do you have a life?" Like, yes, I do. That's the life. Okay, I'm living the life. Are you kidding me? This is the dream. All right, this is what it's all about, man. Les Norman is our guest. The run support is something I wanted to talk about, and I'll just talk about it right now, not necessarily as a transition from what we're discussing from the All-Stars, but, Brady Singer is not an All-Star this year. I think he's got a case to be an All-Star. I don't know if he had 11 wins, and I don't care about the win stat in baseball. I do think official scores should take more liberty in the right that they do have. They do have the option of awarding a win to a particular pitcher that doesn't have to necessarily be the specifics of the rules, or this was the pitcher on the mound when the team took the lead, or this pitcher went 4 2/3 of not giving up a run, but this one pitcher came out and finished the last out, and then that pitcher got the win because it was the 5th inning. Like, that's absurd. Yeah. I do think official scorekeepers should take more liberty in awarding wins. I think we get a better idea of actual pitchers of record, etc. That's a conversation for a different time. But I wonder if Brady Singer had, 10 or 11 wins. If it's like, look, man, this guy's got 11 wins, and look at his numbers, and look at his ERA, and etc. I don't know if people still pay attention to that. But like you're talking about, the players have a part of it. But the offensive side, Les, from a position player's standpoint, and a pitcher's on the mound, how aware are you or the offense when there's a pitcher on the mound that it just happens to be that year where he's drawing the short straw, and it's one of those odd baseball quirks that he's not getting run support when he's out there, and some other pitchers are getting tons of run support, but Brady Singer is going out there and leaving the game with 1 or 2 runs, or for the entire game. I mean, 13 of his 18 outings, they've given up they've scored like 2 runs for him or something like that. What were you going to say, Sterling?
For example, Alec Marsh has 6 wins with a 4.57 ERA. Brady Singer has 5 wins with a 2.93. Yeah. That's like Greinke or K Hernandez, right? Felix Hernandez. Yeah, those teams weren't good, so you understand the win-losses, right? DeGrom with the Mets, 16-8, but the Mets weren't good. Yeah. You look at Singer compared to Marsh, that's the same team, same offense, and for Singer, that's one of those.
He's just unlucky this year with that. Is there offense? Are they aware of that, Les? And if they are, does that start to build on itself? Because it's like, man, we got to get this guy some runs, and you almost start to, not try less hard, as the famous saying goes.
Well, I think everybody knows about it. I don't care if you're media, fan, player, you always know about it. I think the first person that knows about it, or the first group of people, the category, is the hitters, because they know, man, this guy's going out there and busting it every day and giving us a chance to win, and we're not coming through. And so then once it starts getting 7th game, 8th game, man, we're still doing this to this poor guy. You start to press, and you want to put up runs, and you swing a little bit harder, you clinch up a little bit more, and that gapper turns into a ground ball or a double play or something like that. And so the mature pitchers, the more mature pitchers are going to be, they're going to fight through that, and they're not going to change. And I think you've seen that in Brady Singer. It's not like it just came out that, okay, now pattern's developed, you're going to have to throw a 2-hit shutout or you're not going to win, and then you give up 7 runs, and then you give up 10 runs, and all of a sudden your ERA balloons. And so when that happens to a pitcher, I'd mentioned Anthony Young a little while ago, you have to be mature enough to be able to stay the course and just let it happen. Now, deep inside, I'm sure that Brady probably has a conversation with his own camp every now and then, is it to say, dude, you've got to be kidding me. Let's go. Give me a W here and there. Now, that isn't to say that any pitcher that thinks that way is being selfish or arrogant, but, you'd like to go out there and pitch well and actually get a win, not for an all-star thing, not to pad your wins, not for your contract, but how many of us, if you guys are big league pitchers, would you want to go out there in 5 straight starts and go 1-0 with a 2.7 ERA and a no decision in 4 of them? I mean, you're pitching well, yeah, that's great, but you'd like to see a little bit more behind it. It's not going to change what you do, but you still want to see a little bit more of a reward or result on the backside. So all the pitchers know it. All the hitters know it, and the hitters end up pressing. Now, I don't think this is a team, or they're mature enough and adult grown men that they're not like pitcher versus hitters, and the hitters are talking bad about the pitchers or vice versa. But even so, it's frustrating on both ends of it, especially every once in a while when you see a guy who maybe wins a Cy Young, or he's in the All-Star game with 12 wins, or I'm not even talking this year, I'm talking the past. You can have a guy win 17 to 20 games and have an ERA, a 4.7, 4.8 ERA, but he's got murderer's row on his team. They're averaging 7 to 10 runs a game over a stretch of 50 games. I mean, you could be a horrible pitcher, get in there and throw opposite hand and have a chance to win with teams like that. So it's frustrating, but they'll stay the course. I know that, this isn't a good offensive team that we have anyway. So it's not like there's going to be a high expectation from the starting pitchers thinking that I'm going to go out here and they're going to score 10 runs like they did in that last game in Colorado, and I'm going to get a win today. Those things just happen once in a while. Those are stretches that you just hope to be involved in once in a while. Just so happens Brady's in the opposite stretch where they're just not scoring runs, so he's just got to be himself.
Yeah, he since he got the win on May 19th against Oakland when he threw 6 innings and gave up 1 earned run with 9 strikeouts and 1 walk. In the now 8 starts since then, he got the win on Sunday with the great run support of 10 runs. And I bet he's like, hey, can you disperse that a little bit more evenly?
Just give me 4.
I don't need 10. I feel like you're trying to overcorrect there, guys. Like, are you trying? Are you buying a big Hummer? Are you trying to make up for something right here? 10 runs, all right, guys. But I mean, in those 8 starts, he's 1-3 with a 3.2 ERA in those 8 starts. I mean, it's just, and only 2 of those 8 starts did he, so only one of them he gave up more than 3 runs, and that was the rough one against the Yankees. And then the other one in which he gave up only 2 runs, but he went only 3 innings against the Guardians and just struggled that game and got pulled. The other games, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, still quality start. 5 innings, 1, 7 and a third, 1. 5 innings, 1, 7 innings, 1. And out of all that, he gets credited with 1 win. And that's why the pitcher win stat is gone the way of, some of these stats that we just don't care about anymore. And I think we got a better idea of that, especially in today's day and age, Les, when, guys aren't going as deep into games. And maybe that's a product of the pitcher win stat, as guys aren't going into the 8th or 9th or whatever and pitching complete games, so you don't have as much of an opportunity to get the win if you're only pitching 5 innings. You got to leave that game with the win. With the lead, and then also the bullpen has to protect it, all of those things. But, I mean, the man has pitched to a 3 ERA in 8 starts and is 1-3 to show for it. I don't know that he cares. I bet he probably does a little bit deep down of like, man, it'd be nice that it'd be nice to be 10-4 instead of 5-5 on the season.
And look, it's not they're playing a sport. This is a sport where you get rewarded with big contracts long term for successes.
True.
Now, look, an owner on, say, I'll just use the Yankees because it's the Yankees and they're good, and they can afford everybody on the earth that's a good pitcher at the same time. So if you think about it, if Brady Singer has a 3 earned run average and goes 4-7 on the season, or he goes 12-3 with a slightly higher earned run average, which record and statistic is going to give him a better contract for the New York Yankees?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
I think the better
if your
one.
agent's smart enough, if your agent's smart enough, you can find ways to sell your client. But
it's a lot easier to leverage 12-3 than it is 4-7, even with a better earned run average, because other teams are going to the middle part with the lack of offense is going to give other teams a reason to maybe look at 2 or 3 other guys with similar. But if you're looking at a 12-3 guy, even with a slightly higher earned run average, which still would be a good earned run average within our example, that's easy to shop around for an agent, because then it puts the power on the player's side. So that's the one negative about it. I don't think it's going to happen every single year. It can cost a pitcher dollars in the long run. I still think they're doing okay money-wise. Brady Singer's doing just fine, some of those other guys. But yeah, I mean, it's a sport that's just part of the game, and so you hate to see that for him if it keeps going.
Les Norman is our guest, breaking the norm here with last presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Biesterveld and Crook. Going back to the 4 All-Star selections that the Royals have in 2 pitchers, and then they've got the 2 position players. One of my bigger takeaways, Les, that I talked about on Monday was the sort of the view of what those particular players are and the positions that they play and what they would mean to an organization and a team. In that, if you've got 4 All-Stars, that's awesome. But if those 4 All-Stars are, a left fielder, a DH, a reliever, a first baseman, something like that, like, oh, you got 4 All-Stars, that's cool. But to me, there's something different. There's something more with the Royals in that the 4 All-Stars they have that are all absolutely deserving are 2 starting pitchers, a shortstop, and a catcher. Like that's a little bit more of the brick that you build your organization around, rather than some mortar, and you're looking for the bricks that can be the basis and the foundation of your organization. They've got that foundation, which is why they're in position that they are, of only being a game and a half back, but also putting themselves in a position when they were 15 games over 500. But they've got that. They've got to find the mortar to support that. But the brick is the most difficult part to find. And having these 4 guys be all-stars, I think, are indicative of what at least a starting point is for this team, in having these guys at least under contract for 1 more year, with Seth Lugo and the other guys under contract for multiple years.
Yeah, it makes you want to go play for Kansas City. It makes you want to be part of something that consistently is doing well. I mean, I've seen so many guys sign big contracts and then just get content with what they have, and then they're just, okay, I've got my money now. I'm just going to ride out. I'm going to be a good player, but not worry about my potential to be a great player. I'm opening up the statistics up to date of Bobby Witt Jr. today. I'm thinking, he signed a massive contract, which full out would be $447-something million if you saw the 14 years of it all. But it's crazy. But yet, he's hitting 321, and he starts flirting with sometimes a 305, 306, and then, goes 4 for 7 in his next 2 games or something. So, and then you see, I think, isn't this in his 9th year? Isn't this Seth Lugo's first All-Star game?
Yes.
Yeah, and so
finally, and he might start it.
Yeah, and so what you see there is that, okay, this guy's been in the league 8 years, and in his 9th year, he goes to Kansas City, and pitchers that are trying to, on the twilight of their career. I mean, Seth Lugo's great, but look, he's not going to play 10 more years most likely. He's just not, age-wise. And so you see veteran pitchers that haven't hit that all-star, like, I just need somebody to help me. I know I've got the stuff. I just need to tweak this. And then Seth Lugo's going to say, hey, Sweeney's been a great coach for me. This has been a great organization. They've helped me find this. And that's also going to bring other guys to the Royals, that mortar that you're talking about, to bring the brick. And so I think you bring up a great point that I never would have thought of, is that when your all-stars are bricks in your building of the future, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. I mean, I remember past Royals teams, like, that's the one guy that we have representing us in the All-Star game. You've got to be kidding me. And it looks like those days are over, and so it's a good place to be.
What I found interesting, the Royals were coming off a 100-loss season. They bring in a whole bunch of new faces, but two guys really stood out in what they said and what they did. Will Smith was trying to be the
recruiter.
The recruiter, of getting guys here. And Hunter Renfroe did a little bit as well. And Hunter Renfroe, when he was talking about the Royals, it wasn't just I joined the team that I think's going to, win a World Series. It was, no, I think the Royals have a chance with the new faces, the new additions, what they can do, some of the building blocks. Mentioned Bobby Witt Jr., mentioned some of the coaching staff, but also talked about how the AL Central was down and kind of brought a realistic viewpoint of what this Royals team could be. How often do you have, I don't want to say recruiters, but maybe that's the best way of describing it, recruiters in the offseason of a free agent join a team and try and get other free agents to join? Because we've not really seen that in Kansas City. Like when Jose Guillen came here, I don't remember him going out and trying to bring in other faces to Kansas City. I love Jeff Francoeur, but when Francoeur came here, I don't remember him trying to bring in a whole bunch of new faces to Kansas City. But you saw that with Will Smith after a 100-plus loss season. How rare is that?
I think it's very rare. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Interestingly enough, you have Will Smith and Hunter Renfroe, two guys that were cheerleaders that ended up not having seasons so far that you'd expect them to have.
Hey, they're both turning it around, Les. Both are getting hot, baby.
I was just getting ready to say they are picking up a little bit. I think Renfroe's up to that 213 mark, which from where he was.
219. Don't short him, Les. Don't. Come on. 219. Right. I'm about to get a Hunter Renfroe jersey now.
When you're hitting 219, those 6 extra points matter. They absolutely do. So my bad on that. But even so, they are turning it around, yes. But to have cheerleaders like that, you talk about the brick of the building that is the future. That's great. It talks about the coaching staff. It talks about fans can see to a certain extent. Front offices can dream to a certain extent, and I'm still right now on giving the front office an absolute A in what they've done from last year to this year so far.
Me too.
But it's the players. When the players start to recruit and cheerlead and get other guys to come, that tells you that they're the ones on the field, and they're the ones that see that good change is coming. And so, again, really good sign. Front office has to go out and sign those people. So sometimes it's talent, sometimes it's a little bit of talent, but a lot more what leadership they can bring. And so you're not just always going out and trying to sign the guy that's going to hit you 30 bombs or the guy that's going to be this guy in the bullpen or this guy on the mound. You have to bring in leadership as well. You have to bring in character guys that are behind the mission and that see the big picture. And the Royals nailed it. Even though Renfroe's not doing great. But better. Same with Will Smith. They got two guys there that are respected by their peers throughout the league, and they helped bring this team together. And it's a great foundation. And to go from 106 losses to be still above 500 at the All-Star break is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, just really small here. Just with this. Renfroe and Smith are the veteran leaders that have actually been veteran leaders, it feels like. Adam Frazier to an extent as well. Obviously, Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. But the Royals have tried, and they tried in the past with guys like Lucas Duda, even when they were trying to keep the window open, if you will. I guess that's just what really stands out to me is that teams have tried, and the Royals have tried to bring in the veteran
Well, they tried to piece it together with Benintendi and Carlos Santana, and no, we've got Whit Merrifield, we got Salvia,
yes.
Let's bring in some of these veteran guys that have been there, done that. They played in World Series before, and that clearly didn't work.
I guess that's why it just feels so different. Obviously, when you have Bobby Witt Jr., that's going to be a huge Band-Aid, almost like the Mahomes, but baseball's still so much different. We saw Mike Trout toil Still watching him toil. Injuries obviously got in the way as well. I guess it just feels so much different than every other iteration of those. Well, you got to bring in those veteran bats, those guys who can give you a good AB. The Royals did, and while the numbers aren't quite there, it does feel a little different than it has in the past.
Yeah, it does. I think you can sense that a little bit, and you're also with Matt Cottrell trying to piece together a lineup where you got 3 or 4 guys that you can really. I mean, the top 4, sometimes 5, but mostly the top 4 is your best chance, and then you got the rest of the guys except maybe Isbell pulling up and doing. He's done pretty good in that 9-hole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's. You got to give credit where credit is due, and sometimes it's not about, well, we signed Hunter Renfroe to hit 30 home runs, and because we say it, he's going to do it. Doesn't always work that way. He could be pressing, or sometimes you see the ball well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have an incredible season, and sometimes you prepare and you have the right mindset, and you feel better than you've ever felt, and you have a miserable year. I mean, you just don't know. And so there's got to be a good perspective in your mind. This isn't just a game of statistics. It's mental. It's psychological. It's what's the word I'm looking for? You just have to have good leadership skills to be able to do it, because guys that talk all the time and then don't do well, that's a divisiveness on a team, because people get tired of hearing you. But guys that lead on the front side like they did, and then continue to lead in that same mode, not just because they're boisterous or obnoxious, but because they're like, yeah, I know I'm not doing great right now, but still we've got something great here. And I think that the Royals did a really good job of putting that kind of character together on this team. Now, it still hasn't been a great month, but there's always still hope. They've proven to us that they can get the benefit of the doubt for now and still end up fighting for that wild card spot. So I'm still optimistic.
Les Norman is our guest. Last one, and then we'll take a break. As far as like when Sterling mentioned Will Smith and the recruiting that took place, and look, he can struggle the rest of the season and get DFA'd, and his impact on this team has already been made in a big way. J.J. Piccolo signing Will Smith and then him going out and recruiting, because the story that came out in February when all of those signings had been done and they were reporting to training camp or spring training, they were going to spring training in Arizona, and Will Smith was telling the story that Lugo, he was talking to Seth Lugo about joining the Royals, and J.J. Piccolo was trying to sign Seth Lugo, and Seth Lugo's wife Amanda didn't want to join the Royals because the team was so young, and you would know this, Les. She was worried about they have kids, and she's going to be the only mom there in her 30s with kids with a bunch of young guys in their early 20s, right, mid-20s that don't have wives. Honestly, I gave no thought to that when they're signing free agents, right? And those things matter until reading that story. And then Will Smith had to then talk to Seth and Amanda, like, no, we have kids. We're my wife. We're the same age, right? We're all There's gonna be others, and Stratton and other guys we're going to sign and we're talking to. Don't worry, it's not going to be a bunch of 23-year-olds and then you and your husband. Like, we've got young kids too. And without Will Smith, does Seth Lugo sign with the Royals if J.J. Piccolo is trying to sign him, if his wife is like, no, I don't want to go to a young team. I want to go to a team that's got some veterans and got some people that, you're going to get money wherever we go. You've already proven, and somebody's going to take care of you. But without Will Smith, he's not convincing, Seth Lugo's wife. And then Seth Lugo signed the contract, and the first text he got, congratulations, was from Michael Wacha. And J.J. Piccolo said, well, Seth, can you help us? And you know what Seth did and Amanda did? They reached out to the Wachas. And now Michael Wacha's on the Royals. Like, that connection, like, even if Will Smith does nothing the rest of the year, like, being able to help with JJ on, like, no, this is legit. Like, this is something that we can help turn these things around. And I do wonder, Les, like, going into this next offseason, will they have to pay the Royals tax of, hey, Seth, we'll give you a third year to come sign with the Royals. All right, we'll give you the player option for a third year. Other teams aren't doing it. We'll give you a third year even though you've only started for 1 year. Okay, Wacha, we'll give you just the player option instead of, us signing, multiple year for you and more money. We'll give you the player option for next year. Like, do they have to pay the Royals tax if there's some evidence of success, proof of concept this year from J.J. Piccolo to the other free agents that may be out there next year?
Yeah, great question. I'm just going to answer it this way. Having played and didn't play a long time and didn't, I mean, I was just getting married. I got married after my last season in the big leagues. I was actually engaged at the time and was one of those young guys without kids. But you're not signing a player that's married. You're not signing an athlete. You're signing a family, and you're signing a wife. And so let's remember, when a guy gets on an airplane and goes and sits in the back of the airplane at the beginning of the road trip, and he's getting ready to play a game of cards with the guys, or he's getting his movies out, or he's going to watch video of past at-bats or something like that in prep, or whatever they do, they've got their alone time, their prep time. They can sleep. They can go eat when they want, sleep when they want, go do what they want, go to the field, have that camaraderie with the guys. That is the only thing I really miss of playing, just hanging with the fellas and competing. So they're the unsung heroes in a lot of this, and then when they do come to the game and they sit, and most fans don't know who they are, if they're in the stands, they have to listen to your husband, not your husband, but this guy sucks, and they got to hear that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, being a backup player, my fiance at the time, now wife of 27 and a half years, but she had to sit there and listen to how bad I sucked, because my 180 average, my 205 average, because I was getting one at bat a week. I couldn't get into a rhythm, and so she wore it and heard it. And when the Royals took me off the roster, and in '99, when the whole fiasco came, and hey, you made the team, and the next day, oh, we lied, you didn't, just kidding. Yep. And she had to weather my emotions and weather that financial loss of what that what it potentially could have turned into. So when you're signing these players, it's not just that Will Smith wanted to hang with his buddies. It's what Will Smith did to ease the mind and heart of the real guts and glory and strength behind us major league players, and that's our wives and the people that take care of our kids when we're on the road, and the ones that manage our emotions when we come home. So you have 2 kids and you come home moping because you had a bad road trip. Now she has 3, and she's having to baby you and get you back on track. So I love that story. I love that about Will Smith, and I think that because of that tight-knit unit, we've got a really good chance of having those guys for that extra year, and I also think they've earned it.
Yeah. Les Norman is our guest. Breaking the Norm, presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Biesterveld and Crook. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about how crucial these 5 games are heading into the All-Star break to finish on a high note from what has been a rough patch of baseball. We'll do that on the other side of the break. Hanging out with Les Norman. We are hanging out in Lake Tahoe. More Zone right after this. Les Norman. Breaking the Norm, presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Biesterveld and Crook. As we head up until 2 o'clock, the Royals game, I mentioned I didn't know if they would have the game tonight, and I'm just seeing the news that the Royals game tonight has been postponed already. It's raining all day, and we had mentioned at the beginning of the show that it was supposed to maybe stop raining around 9 or 10, but if it's going to be storming all day, they both have an off day on Thursday, so I thought just move this game to Thursday, and you'll be fine. That's not what they did. They are keeping the Thursday off day. They are just going to have a split doubleheader tomorrow. With game times at 12:45 and 6:45. So a little bit interesting. Les, any particular thoughts as to, having the doubleheader and still having that extra day off? I'm not sure what the particular reasons would be, especially with the All-Star break coming up, is to play a doubleheader, get an extra day off, as opposed to like in the middle of June, you've been playing May and June, or in the middle of August, like, nah, let's still give them that day off. We'll play a doubleheader. Interesting choice for the Royals, and there might be some specific reason, I don't know, but I thought for sure they would just move this to Thursday and not have a doubleheader. But Royals play 2 and then get a day off.
Who let Crash Davis in St. Louis? I mean, come on now.
Come on, Royals, you get back-to-back days off. Then they'll play 2 games tomorrow. Then they'll get a day off. So Lester had Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday off this week in a week of baseball.
Yeah, I think people tend to make plans. Teams make plans based on rotation or days off, or guys get disabled list stuff. I mean, I'm sure that's just because they already had plans. But look, man, I almost moved to St. Louis, but the one thing that kept me out of there, besides that the Cardinals are horrible to humanity, was that hurricanes come through there. And, I said, you know what, I just don't want to risk it. And so, see, today, I'm a genius. The hurricane remnants came through, rained out a game. That's why I'm not there.
That makes total sense. And I'm not far behind you.
I'm just convinced no one wants to work anymore. Monday off, Tuesday off, Thursday off. I mean, come on, even baseball.
Dude, unless
in the paid really well.
In the matter, like we talked about, like the Royals with 27 games in 28 days, and now they are going to play 5 games in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're going to play 5 games in 12 days. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 7 days off. Between Sunday when they played in Colorado until next Friday when they play the White Sox, they will have 7 off days. Good for them.
That goes into what you said before we went out on the break about how important are these next 5 games going in. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you're going to get those days off. That even shows you how more important 2 here, and then 2 in St. Louis, and then 3 in Boston. I mean, those are big deals, especially with Boston being, a team that's going to compete with you for a wild card. So it's really important. That I'm not saying you're going to win every game. Every single game is important, but when you look at it from that 30,000-foot view, you need some momentum going in, even when you do have those 3 days off, and you can, at least in your mind, you can reset, so to speak, and get that physical rest. There's still that mindset that says, yeah, let's get after it. We're coming off of that. I would rather come off a break winning, like a 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5 versus 1 and 4, 2 and 4, and or 2 and 3 rolling into it, because then you're putting pressure on, well, this is where we were 2 months ago. This is our record now. We're pushing it back close to 500, so we got to pick things up a little bit. So, yeah, I think it's not important like, the playoffs are next week, but it's important for momentum to play the rest of July to get you back into a position where you get a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, and you sort of answered it there. I was curious, just from a player standpoint, of what you would feel better about going into an All-Star break if you're struggling and you go, okay, let's just reset, recharge, all of that stuff, and we'll get back to playing good baseball. Or you play really well going into the break, and then, the flip side would be, well, crap, I just want to keep playing. We're playing really well. I don't want to stop this momentum. I don't want to stop what we're doing because we're playing good baseball. Like, I don't know what the best way to go into an All-Star break. I mean, the best way would be to win a lot of games going into an All-Star break, but is it more beneficial to reset the batteries, or, risking the momentum or how well you're playing in a certain time if you head into an All-Star break and you got 4 days off?
You know what? It was just, as far as an All-Star break goes for me, it was just I was an everyday player, played outfield. I was at the top of the order. I was always running around constantly. So momentum was super important to me. I wanted that momentum. But either way, for me personally, I just needed to shut my brain off. You know, I definitely never made a big league all-star team. I think I only made two. I made 2 minor league all-star teams. And so that I know that even though I still went, it was still tough not having that break. And you may not feel it now when you're young, but you may feel it August 1st. You may feel it when all of a sudden your bet's not quick in September and you're only 1.5 games out of the wild card and you have to go down a bet size and that doesn't feel good in your hands. It's not the same thing. So momentum is everything to me because it's what gets your mind in the right spot. I mean, when you play 162 games a year and then there's any sign of struggle in any part of your game, you're having to play tricks on your own brain. You're having to tell yourself certain things like, okay, 15 things are going wrong, but I'm going to focus on that one thing to keep me in a right frame of mind because if you get negative, if you get defensive at the plate or you start thinking about your at-bats while you're in the field and that causes you to make an error, you can spiral really, really fast. So momentum might not have as much about the next game or the next series as far as, you know, it's just this mystical win-loss thing. It's what your brain tells your body. And if you can get that physical rest plus have that momentum to have a good mindset, then if that makes you play better at the end of August and early September, then so be it. So I'm all for rest, but I'm even more for momentum.
Yeah. We'll take a time out, have a little momentum going into the break here. Hanging out with Les Norman, breaking the norm. One more segment with Les. We continue rolling along, hanging out in Lake Tahoe. More Zone next. We are hanging out with Les Norman, Breaking the Norm. It is presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Biesterveld and Crook. Les, the final segment here with you today. Next time we talk, we'll know who the starters are. So I'll just get your prediction. Is Seth Lugo starting the All-Star game a week from tonight?
I'm going to say he should be. I'm not. I think he will be. I'm more concerned. Is Bobby Witt Jr. I love it. Thank you.
Yes.
Is Bobby Witt Jr.'s swing going to get jacked up after being in the home run derby? Because you hear so much of that. So I was going to ask you guys what you thought about that.
I'm okay with it. I wonder how overblown it is, but I don't know. You would certainly know more than I on if you're they are trying to hit home runs or not. I'm more okay with it in the fact that there is a pitch limit, and while also a time limit. I don't know that I fully buy into Bobby Abreu's excuse of the home run derby screwed up his swing. Because the previous 30 games before the All-Star break, he batted .250 and hit 2 home runs. And then the All-Star break happened in the home run derby, and he continued to be, to struggle the rest of the way. I think it might be a convenient excuse. My concern, Les, was the Aaron Judge talking about the how when it was a time limit and just swing, that he did mess up his shoulder by doing that. And if that was the case, I'd be more concerned.
I think with Bobby Witt Jr.'s swing. Yeah, I think with Bobby Witt Jr.'s swing, he's not going to change anything. I've just heard a lot about that, and I want to get your thoughts, but I think he's going to be just fine. Hit the ball hard, it'll go far. That's an old George Bretism that I learned and tried to, factor in, and I think he's right. One of the greatest hitters of all time. You should probably trust him. So, I don't think it's going to cause any issues.
Yeah, I don't think it affected Salvi when he hit 48 in 2021.
That's a great point. It's a great pull. It's a really good pull. Yeah. I hadn't even thought about the fact that Salvi, what he had pre and post All-Star break. Also, Pete Alonso, they compete in these things, all of that. So Pete Alonso, by the way, is in the home run derby. So we know 4 of them.
Yeah,
I just wish.
I worry about Pete Alonso hurting his shoulder in the home run derby from patting himself on the back every 5 minutes.
Oh, I love it, Les. I absolutely love it. That is great. Les Norman, Les, you are the absolute man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Enjoy the baseball, the doubleheader tomorrow, and we'll talk next week when we're breaking down Bobby Witt's home run derby performance and then getting ready for the All-Star game. Hopefully, talking about Seth Lugo starting that game. Appreciate you, brother.
You got it. You guys hang in there and make do with where you're at.
We'll try. I mean, no promises though. No promises.
Hang in there, buddy.
I will. Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. One more hour to go. Just looking through
chuckling to
I'm just
yourself
looking through some
over
of the
here,
texts.
and I'm like, are these?
Did they cancel the Mexico basketball game for KU in Houston?
I
There's
don't
a couple
know.
of texts that came in earlier that they canceled it. I guess
I
I didn't see
actually
that.
wonder
I
how
guess
many.
I didn't see that. I don't know. Sorry.
I wonder how many mean texts you get about me, and you just don't say to spare my feelings, because I think it'd be.
Oh
kind
no,
of
I
funny
save
to
them
read
all
those. Yeah.
and send them to Chad.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. 913-912-4810.
You have a long way to go
91
to catch up to me, Sterling. It's okay. I got
Yes.
plenty.
Oh,
Plenty of
that
text
was
in there.
loud for. That was loud for someone really.
Yeah.
Miss hit one.
Text says this goes back to our conversation we had earlier. All mountains are hills, but not all hills are mountains.
Yes.
I don't know.
I agree with you. I'm team 1950s mountain hill definition, not this.
Not sure.
You guys are just crazy and lazy. You know,
Not sure.
lazy.
I'm not sure. Text says I'll trade all my luggage for that AAV for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, it's a good call.
We told the story earlier in the show that last night we showed up to Reno and getting ready to get on the shuttle up to Tahoe, and we meet with the lady that's setting up the cars and everything for the for American Century, and we go and talk with her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we'll get the car." She's like, "But I'll meet you over at the baggage claim carousel too." Because I've got to get this gentleman his car. His plane got delayed and all this other stuff. And I turn around and standing right there behind me is Trevor Lawrence. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course you're going to put Trevor on the car before me. And then we find out after she got his car and everything and got him set up. She's like, I feel so bad for him. His flight got delayed. They lost all his luggage. Golf clubs, everything is missing. Like
Golf clubs for a golf event.
Yes.
Not ideal.
So that was the text that came in earlier. It was like, I'll trade all my luggage for that annual average value. Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
they can have my entire wardrobe. I'll replace it all.
I'll just go and buy new. I will simply go and buy new clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think he does that? Like, and he's like, oh man, shoot, I'll have to rent clubs. That's what I thought was he was going to rent clubs, and I go. He's probably just going to go to some store and just buy
Why not?
what he had and go, well, I guess I got 2 sets now.
Why not? That's awesome. Oh, I love this. This little kid is running from the cart path onto the driving range. Now, there's nobody out here really warming up, so he's fine. But just the mom sprinting behind him to try to get the kid who was running on the grass.
That was electric.
That was awesome.
Could have been
man.
real fun. You
That
see
was
Bryson
great.
DeChambeau. It was just kind of a fun game of.
Oh, that was great. I mean, there's one dude on the driving range, and he's way on the other side, so that kid was safe. That kid had a long way to go.
He's
And
hit
he's
a lot
not-
of good wedges, this guy.
And he's not driving the cart that picks up the golf ball, so no one would try and hit him anyway.
That's exactly right.
no.
Yes. I believe the golfer, not golfers, but the golfer that's on the range would stop swinging the wrenches if he sees a 2-year-old kid.
I don't know.
I'd like
This
to
guy's
imagine
stumbling
real
stumbling
man.
by.
This guy has been on the range hitting wedges for the past half hour, 40 minutes. Same dude.
No, actually, you know what? This guy, what he's going to do is if he sees the kid running, he's like, you know what? I think I can loft that to land
That's what I-
right,
Yeah, flop shot.
right
Because
over him.
He's got a
Flop
coach.
shot.
He's got a coach out there.
Yeah.
Okay, you see the toddler there running across the way. You want to kind of aim to the right, but it'll carry, and yeah, it'll strike him.
What degree wedge you working with right there? Why
Got
don't
it.
you, why don't you drop a couple of degrees? Let's see if we can loft that thing over that kid's head.
So you're going to get a
See what you
60
got.
degree, open it up a little bit, all right? And then just swing through.
Oh, poor kid, he bladed that thing. Son of a gun. Well, those things happen. Those things happen. But the kid got a souvenir. He got a souvenir.
Signed it.
It was
It's actually just a media member.
It was just a random golfer
Just
dude.
a
I mean,
random
he's
guy.
just
but,
some guy that actually lives here in Tahoe. His family gave him a lot of money to pass down, but he did sign that for him, and that was great. You can forge the signature on a check when he gets older and figures those things out. 913-912-4810. Royals game has been postponed for tonight. They're going to play a doubleheader tomorrow, 12:45, 6:45. And again, I'm not sure why. There's got to be some reasonable explanation as to a doubleheader tomorrow instead of just playing tomorrow and then Thursday, because they have an off day Thursday. So maybe there is some reasonable explanation like they have in Black Sheep, where there is a reasonable explanation. She put us up to it. But they're playing a doubleheader tomorrow. 12:45 and 6:45, but they still have the day off on Thursday.
I have a fun little thing we could do right now.
Great, let's do a fun little thing.
I did all these factor fictions.
You
we
did.
Didn't have time with Lebo, and
We did
we're
not.
still waiting on Lebo for
That's right.
some of the K-State stuff.
That's exactly right.
We could do some factor fiction,
Could
but
do
kind
it.
of more of like a discussion type situation now. Dylan,
Yeah.
you in?
Yeah.
I was going to say
Always
that
in,
sounds like
yeah.
a negative. Sounds like a negative Ghost Rider pattern as well.
Let's start with actual sports. I said Sam Long is in the top 2 of relievers I trust the most on the Royals. Fact or fiction?
Oh wow. For you, I would say. I think he is for you. I think you're a Sam Long fan, right? I think you're a Sam Long fan.
Yes.
So I would say for you, he is. For me, he was the outing that he had against Cleveland with striking out Quan and doing that. That was brilliant, and that is sort of emblazoned in my memory for a while. I don't know that I may already vault Chris Bubich up. Like Chris Bubich may vault up to like MacArthur and Bubich, be like the guys that I trust the most right now. Even though there's some other guys that are pitching well, as of late, like Stratton, et cetera. And Schreiber has slid all the way back to where like Will Smith was before he turned things around.
Yes. I said fact, by the way.
Yeah, you like.
I think Sam Long's too. I think you can make him and Angel Zerpa are probably 2-3.
Yeah.
That's how I view it. Angel Zerpa, sorry.
Angel, whatever.
What are you going to call him? Angel Baroa is how I just always think of it. And then James MacArthur probably is still in there realistically. I know he's had a lot of ups and downs, but I'm probably still putting MacArthur in that top 3. But what Sam Long has done has actually been the best strikeout pitcher of any Royals bullpen arm, right? I'm not counting Cole Reagans, and Reagans is honestly just barely ahead of him with 11 strikeouts per 9. Sam Long is 10.8 per 9, right? Little wild, probably a little more walks than you'd like. 8 walks in 16 2/3 innings, but he doesn't really get hit around. He's only given up, 1 home run. I've really been impressed with Sam Long so far, and now we have a larger sample size at 16. 16 2/3. I'm convinced. I'm ready to say Sam Long is in my circle of trust now, which is very small circle. In the Royals
that would make sense that it would be a small circle. It's interesting because like different guys have fluctuated throughout the year of like who's in that circle of trust, who's not. Like for a while, it was like Chris Stratton moved in there and he was pitching awesome, and then he had the rough outing against back-to-back outings against the Rays where he did not pitch all that well, and now what's 3 outings in a row? 3 straight outings when he's had at least 3 base runners when he's been out there or given up at least a run or 2. So he's sliding back. So Stratton and Schreiber at the same time are struggling.
Yes,
you can't go to them. So that's why almost like I'm looking at Chris Bubich and I'm like, I mean, I kind of have an idea of what to expect from Chris Bubich. He's got a longer track record. I've seen him, last year and over the years.
Sure.
And I'd rather see him like right now. If it's like, okay, you got to protect this lead in the 8th inning to get it to MacArthur, and your choice is Schreiber or Chris Bubich or Stratton, Schreiber, Chris Bubich. I'll take Bubich.
I'll take Sam Long
right now. But I'm saying Sam Long isn't
yes,
a part of it.
I agree.
Yeah. Sam Long. I mean, it's fine. Sam Long was awesome against Cleveland. Then he, had
a bad outing,
difficult outing after Cleveland. But I think right now, like I have a trust in Chris Bubich that I think he's going to go out there and just be able to get the job done until proven otherwise. He might move into a higher leverage situation for me, but maybe the Royals are avoiding that with him coming off Tommy John and not wanting to throw him right into the fire of being a 7th, 8th inning guy, come in and hold down a 1-run lead to get it over to MacArthur.
Well, this is where my irritation, I really was irked when the Royals sent down Walter Pennington after a great outing.
Well, he's a left-hander. You can't have too many left-handers. Everybody's left-handed.
This is my point. Your best 2 before Bubich, and we'll see if you want to say 3 or your best 4 if you're going to throw MacArthur in there. Relievers lefty. So do you want another lefty in the majors? Think of the matchups. And my thought process is, I get the thought behind the splits and all that stuff, but a good lefty is better than a bad righty. I don't care what hand he throws. Like, you can have Tanner Scott or you can have Dan Ottavia. Well, you got a lot of lefties. Who are you going to go with? Well, I'm taking Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Walter Pennington's that guy by any means, but what we saw was nice. We know what you have in Stratton. You know what you have in Schreiber at this point. At least he's going through his slump right now. At some point, forget the matchups. Give me the better pitcher. I don't care. I'd rather have Sam Long face righties, if that's what it comes down to, Zerpa face righties, than watch, at this point, Schreiber go out there, Stratton go out there and get shelled yet again.
Well, I also think Chris Bubich is experienced enough of going against lefties and righties as a lefty, so you don't have to view Chris Bubich in the same light that you would view Walter Pennington.
Yes.
At least I wouldn't.
Agreed.
Because I would look at Chris Bubich as, yes, he's a left-handed reliever, but he's a pitcher. You know, you don't have to match up, lefty-righty, and I know that's something that Matt Quattrero absolutely loves the lefty-righty. And, when it was, the Rockies game on Friday night, when when Blanco goes up to hit against the Rockies closer who's a lefty, and it's like, and I saw on Twitter and text is like, how is he not pinch hitting Michael Massey? And I said, because Quattrero's allergic to lefties. Yeah. So he's not going to bring in Michael Massey against a lefty. He's going to leave Dyron Blanco in there against a lefty, which I'll take my chances. And I know I love a lot of the things that Q does.
Yeah.
I think he can get caught up a little too much in the minutia of that.
Sometimes just put the better player out there.
Massey's been fine against lefties.
Yeah, just put the better player out there instead of trying to overthink it.
Right. Well, it's like, no, it's a lefty. Right, you got to have Blanco against a right-hander. I'll take Massey against somebody who's ambidextrous. I don't care over a Blanco righty-lefty.
Who was that
in
pitcher?
matchup.
Was it Vintez, the guy for the A's who was ambidextrous? That was
and was that the same kid that went to Creighton?
I don't know if that was.
I think it was, because there was a kid at Creighton, so maybe it was the same kid.
All right, Dylan. Fact or fiction for you?
Oh, yeah.
I asked the guy in the clubhouse if they had an extra tee time for a single.
Fact.
100%.
Yeah, I did.
You absolutely
I did.
By the way,
I was
that's
looking
not a bad idea. All you can do is say no.
Yeah, I was laughing.
Did he laugh?
Yeah, they laughed. They're like pretty funny.
You were like, no, I'm serious. Actually, I was.
I mean, if they do have room though, like if Ray Allen needs someone dropped out,
somebody no-showed, I'll fill in their spot,
Larry the Cable Guy's lefty. I can borrow his clubs.
That's right, just play with Larry.
I'll play with Larry. I think he had a PXG driver. That's what I got.
Well, see, there you go. You guys, peas in a pod. You and Larry.
Yeah. All right. Fact or fiction? I play blackjack based on feel, not the numbers.
That's fiction. That's fiction. You're a numbers guy.
Yep.
You like the analytics of it.
No.
Kind of.
I always thought of you as kind of like
I'm a gut dude.
Oh.
Dude, I'm like
I
am.
You're the problem. You're the guy at the table. You're the guy at the table that everybody hates.
No, I go last for that reason.
You still mess up the shoe even if you go last.
Yeah, I'm telling you this though. Whenever we did feel in Vegas, that's when I won all my money. When I went by the numbers, got screwed every single time. Numbers are liars, man. You know what doesn't lie? This bad boy.
Your gut? I think
right
your gut can
there.
lie. I don't believe that the gut is undefeated.
I think they made a movie about numbers and how it actually works better when you use the numbers.
Didn't
at a
make a movie
blackjack
about
table.
me yet.
Not yet. Yeah, that's right.
Miles Teller. Where I've not seen Miles yet. Really gonna need to ask him if he can play me in this movie.
this biopic that's going to come out on Sterling Holmes' life that Miles Teller's
the former pilot and card counter, Sterling Holmes.
That's right, man. He's the most interesting man in the world. That's right.
All right. Fact or fiction? Brady Singer should be the first name called up for the All-Star game if they need an alternate.
I'm going to go fiction on this one. I don't even know who was first, but it just as a general conversation, I think it's going to be fiction because I think Blanco, if they're looking for another star, I think Blanco should get that nod. Yeah,
I kind of agree with Jason, but I do want it to be fact because I do think that if it should be a Royal should replace a Royal. So I don't want a Royal to be knocked out for maybe a start at the wrong time or, God forbid, an injury, but I think he should replace a Royal, but he can't replace just anyone.
It's fiction. I add Blanco.
Yeah.
I think he's maybe second. I really think it's Blanco, Grayson Rodriguez, and Brady Singer.
No, I'm good.
I think there's a legitimate conversation, but it
just
goes to show
kick Clay Holmes off the team.
Agreed. But I think it goes to show how good Brady Singer's been, and as I don't want to say a Brady Singer hater. I want to say a Brady Singer realist of the past, I don't know, multiple seasons. You got to give credit where credit's due. It feels like a lot of times folks still talk about Brady Singer as if he's a 5. Like he's back at the guy that has a 4-something ERA who goes out there and gets he is leading the league in 1 or 0 earned run starts this year in Major League Baseball. I mean, he's been damn consistent. He's had 1 or 2 bad starts that you'd like to have back against good teams. Oh my gosh, that was an absolute shank. Wow, guy. Oh man, okay, that was brutal.
That was an odd left turn.
That thing went 17 yards.
He's gonna make an about face and aim for us. So you keep talking.
Keep talking. Well, we'll be fine. He can't hit us. Goes straight right of us. But no, I just feel like Brady Singer needs more credit. If we talked all the talk about needs a third pitch and he can be stubborn and all this stuff, maybe a little emotional at times. I got to give credit where credit's due. Brady Singer's been phenomenal and should at least be in the running as an alternate.
Text comes in at 913-912-4810. Did Sterling just say a good lefty's better than a bad righty? That's like saying good pizza's better than bad pizza.
Well, but apparently it's
I know what you're saying.
Apparently it's a hot topic, and I get what you're saying. Yes, but because Walter Pennington, I think, is better at this point right now than Chris Stratton. Yet Q's and to an extent is JJ Piccolo, right? Let's be real and how the ups and downs of the roster construction's going. If you have all lefties in your bullpen, but they're all good, but you're sitting here going, you know what? Now we got to keep a righty just because he's a right-handed pitcher. I think that's a little bit absurd.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That balance, but you are
that was a funny comment.
But you do have a manager, and this is the good and the bad, right? The pros and the cons, and maybe over the course of the season it works out because I saw the numbers that the percentage advantage of righty-lefty splits of left-handed batters facing right-handed pitchers. Right-handed batters facing left-handed pitchers. When the Guardians, I just gave the team away, but when the Guardians are on the mound, the righties facing the lefties left. The team with the most hitter-pitcher matchups in their favor of those advantage or whatever, those splits, it's been the Guardians. And so it was a story, I might have been at The Athletic, of like the Guardians don't have the biggest payroll, but the way they're going about this year and maximizing the players they have by using some of those matchups. And it's like, okay, so if they're getting praised for that, is that a reason why they're playing so good? Is it anecdotal because they are so good, but they also, are doing that as well? Chicken and the egg type thing. It's like, all right, so do you give more grace to Matt Quattrero? Difference being, you're talking about the best bullpen in baseball in Cleveland, and you're talking about a Royals bullpen that they are trying to find somebody that isn't struggling as of late. That Nick Anderson has, had 3 of his last 4 outings he's given up a run. Schreiber's been bad. Stratton's been bad. Sam Long was awesome against the Guardians in that game, but then the next game he comes out and gives up 2 earned runs and doesn't make it out of the inning. So we've seen you're searching for somebody to fill that role, and it's like, well, you got to have these lefties and righties, and yeah, I get the matchup, I get the thought process behind it, but you're throwing out a guy that's, you don't know what you're going to get from time to time. Then give me a lefty that I have a pretty decent idea of what I might get from time to time. If he's just simply better, I'm not caring about, that overall, matchup lefty versus righty. It's not like we have the loogies anymore. Like, you got to face 3 batters or end the inning. Like, you don't have the lefty one-out guys that are specifically on your roster to get right-handed batters out or left-handed batters out.
All right, fact or fiction. The Royals need bullpen help over help in the lineup.
I'm going to say fiction because I think bullpen help, they have it. They just aren't utilizing it yet. So I think they need offensive help. And then bullpen, Chris Bubich and Walter Pennington. Those might be the best acquisitions they can make at the trade deadline. Go get a bat and then, have Bubich and Pennington. And maybe there's somebody else. Maybe it's a smaller, bullpen spot, but that you trade for. But I think the offense, it's hard to blow a lead if you don't get one. Dylan?
Yeah, I'll go fiction as well. Same reason.
Yeah, it was really close for me, but I'm going to fiction for the what you just said, actually. After I pointed at you and gave you a little snappy finger motion. You can't blow a lead if you don't have one. And the Royals need some more consistent bats. MJ Melendez, I'm sorry, the negative reinforcement's no longer working. Adam Frey.
Maybe we just need to double down.
But they really need someone. What's interesting now is it's a leadoff hitter more than anything else. They need a guy who can get on base. They've tried everything. Michael Garcia, you move him down, looks solid. You move him back up, he goes 0 for 4. Taylor Ward, as much as I would love Taylor Ward, is that the guy you go after? Or do you go after Taylor Ward and the Angels?
Rooker.
No, not Brent Rooker. The Angels.
Oh, Rengifo?
Rengifo. A guy who can get on base, high on base guy.
Yeah.
That might be
take him.
even more impactful for the Royals, because when you have a guy, Bobby Witt Jr. is driving in anyone who's ahead of him. The issue is no one's getting on base ahead of him. Mm-hmm. So you get Rengifo, get a guy on base. He's got, 20-plus stolen bases this year, got a little bit of speed. I think Rengifo is the guy that makes the biggest impact over any single bullpen arm, and to an extent, any realistic trade candidate the Royals would go after. I don't think Luis Robert's a real candidate for the Royals. I think guys like Taylor Ward would be, a great get. I don't know how realistic Taylor Ward even is. I think you're looking more at the Brett Rookers, the A's, and some of those lesser guys. Non-sports related.
Okay.
Fact or fiction?
Yeah.
Dylan, you can go first.
Okay, great.
Michael Scott is my favorite Office character.
Dylan, you have to go first on this one.
Oh, man. I'll go fact, actually, because I just, I like him, so.
The only reason I know this is we were walking in, and one of the golf carts had Brian Baumgartner's name on it, so he's playing today. But he's not that. He said, Sterling goes, I want to walk up to Brian and just talk to him about Creed, my favorite Office character.
Creed Bratton.
That is the best character.
Creed Bratton is the greatest character of any show ever created. I mean,
I don't know about that.
He never missed. Creed Bratton didn't talk much. Never missed. Never went up there and
wrote
even
his own
struck
lines,
out.
Actually.
Huh?
He wrote his own lines too.
Did he actually?
He's a writer on
that.
He's a writer.
I get what you're saying.
He pitched to himself.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones is no one steals from Creed Bratton. The last man who stole from Creed Bratton. Creed Bratton. He's so good. It's just a great character.
Yeah. It's all right.
Am I wrong here?
I think you're wrong. And
Creed Bratton is best Office character.
Okay, that's fine. Ron Swanson might be one of the best sitcom characters.
Yeah, he's very good. Very good.
Kramer, plenty of people. Yeah.
The only things I hate in this world more than liars is skim milk, which is just water lying about being milk.
It is true that skim milk is really bad.
The bacon one, Jason, where he's going to get the Impossible bacon. Oh yeah, I'll have another, and he just drops it right in the trash every time.
It's so great.
He's a great character.
That character is unfreaking real. It might be the best character.
They have two of the best supporting role characters, because Chris Pratt's character, I can never remember his name. He's a great.
Oh, it's
and then Aubrey Plaza.
Andy Dwyer.
Yeah, Andy Dwyer. There you go. Those just
April.
supporting roles are amazing.
Yep, April was great. And then Ben Schwartz. I loved his role. Ben Schwartz in that one.
The worst. Yeah. Dude.
It's that I think I've watched that series all the way through.
To Sterling's credit, in the same writers though that did both Office and Parks and Rec.
I'm not good with the whole writing, directing, producing, people behind the scenes. I would assume because there's a lot of that same comedic style.
See, Dylan, we count on you since you are, the producer. You should be more in touch with that.
Yeah,
situation.
Michael, sure.
Jason's an on-air guy, so he only knows about.
You should be a producer.
I already found it. It's Michael Schur. He wrote and produced The Office and Parks and Rec with Greg Daniels.
Yeah, no, it's The Office is great, and it's a lot of people's favorite show. Parks and Rec might be my favorite show. I just love the characters around it. You've got the main characters, but then the characters around it that are also just fantastic.
All right.
And then Andy Dwyer. Turns out he was going to be a Marvel superhero. He's going to be the biggest action star in the world. Is that guy, Andy Dwyer, pudgy Andy Dwyer living in a hole.
Ball, yeah.
Final Bobby Witt Jr. home run derby take here. Right? Just putting a bow on this. I'm not necessarily nervous for him. but I'm nervous about the national East Coast media bias because let's be real, Gunnar Henderson is more of a home run hitter than Bobby. So realistically,
he's got almost double.
So realistically, Gunner's probably going to hit more home runs than Bobby, right?
We'll see.
I'm going to be so annoyed if I hear Baltimore fans, East Coast fans, I'm like, well, see, that just proves the point. Head to head, look at that. Gunner's better. Like, there's going to be someone that says that, and I'm going to get irrationally upset. And so that's the reason.
That's a fact that you're going to get irrationally upset.
Well, that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. I don't get angry very often, but I get angry about irrationalities and just absurd things that I want to.
I'm looking forward to Bobby Witt hitting right after Pete Alonso. That's what I'm.
No, before Pete Alonso.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know what? Just get him back.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt Jr. before Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
And then Pete Alonso gets to see how it feels
Yeah.
as they talk about Bobby Bombs.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they did away with the seeding in the first round. Like, that was dumb. You should have. This is the better way of going about it. You take the 8 hitters, the top 4 home run hitters of those 8, move on to the next round. Then you can have the seeding. That's fine. Then you can have 1 through 4 and seed it by home runs that they hit. But you shouldn't have somebody that has the second most home runs in the first round can't move on to the semifinals. That just doesn't seem like in the spirit of the home run derby. So that's not the case this year. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone right after this, hanging out in Lake Tahoe. It is the American Century Championship going on here in Lake Tahoe. A fantastic Kansas City company with American Century. And our coverage here all week long is presented by Greenlight Dispensary. Make sure to check out greenlightdispensary.com for $25 top shelf eighths and weekly promos from the vendor of the week. That's greenlightdispensary.com.
All right, folks, as I said, they're giving away green light strains for gold and platinum eighths for 25% off all week at Greenlight Dispensary to celebrate July's Flower Frenzy specials. And they're going to change it up every single week, while they also have deals on other items as well every single day. You can learn more and check them out online at Greenlight Dispensary.
hanging out here in Lake Tahoe. Jason Anderson, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. During the show or the afternoon today, we will bring you at some point the sound from Chris Kleiman at the press conference in the Big 12. Todd Lebo also had a one-on-one interview sit-down with Chris Kleiman. He said it was about 20 minutes long. You'll hear that in the bonus hour tonight. So if anything, coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll have that one-on-one interview, Todd, which is better than the press conference, by the way, because then you get actual conversation, interaction, question, follow-up, expand on certain points, more likely to give maybe some information and be more, personable when you're sitting down with that particular interviewer rather than at a press conference. So looking forward to hearing that 20 minutes, because the 5 minutes we played last hour, or 2 hours ago, I guess it would be, the 5 minutes we played of a chunk of that interview was really fascinating stuff, and him talking about the Wildcat NIL and dealing with players in the locker room, and it's all brand new to these coaches, in some players getting more money than other players, and whether that's an issue or not. And I'll say it sounded like Chris Kleiman was sort of like, no, I mean, just you got to deal with the locker room with everybody, whether it's playing time or not. And he said, it's I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, it's pretty simple. Patrick Mahomes makes more, and he's the quarterback. You're great. And he said, quarterbacks, wide receiver, tackle, cornerback, those are the guys, And he said, but there's always going to be, not always, but he said, quote, there's enough to go around. And mentioned, maybe a walk-on might, get something that he deserves more than just a scholarship. That'd be cool. And then he finished it by saying, but, where's the production coming from? Which is ultimately like, hey, who's producing? And, those are the guys. Now, the issue that Todd was asking about is, okay, well, what happens if this guy's not producing and making more money than somebody is producing, and that NIL is not there? But it is a different world, because he was asked about, like, contracts, like, how's it work? What if a kid transfers? Does he owe something? Like, is it a breach of contract? Like, what's all of this that goes on? And he said, I'm not involved in that. We've got a director of roster management that works with the NIL. The players have a third party, and then there's paperwork that's drawn up. It's a lot more intricate than it is of just, hey, come play football at this school, here's the letter of intent, or, hey, how can we funnel money to your family through whatever organization so that it's not picked up by the NCAA. That was difficult in its own right, trying to hide that. Now you've got the paperwork, third parties, NIL, director of roster management, which at one point in college football, Sterling, director of roster management was, okay, we're going to have 12 scholarships open next year, and, we've got 23 scholarships we can use for the 2-year period, and so we can have this or that. This guy might graduate. This guy may transfer. So these are the players we should be looking at. This is what our roster will really look like. We have 12 scholarships opening up, but we'll probably have 19 in reality. Like, that's what you were dealing with. Now you're doing that with, okay, we've got this amount of money to spend on maybe this position. We got this guy out there that might be looking for that, so he might be priority number one. And if we don't get him, we can use this money and chunk it in 3 different spots to go and pay. Like, it's a completely different sort of a Tetris to fit everything in. It looks like Pepe Sylvia, and It's Always Sunny. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe. I'm always that name, Pepe Sylvia.
It just has to be so damn hard, and you're hoping players are understanding, right?
Yeah.
But that's obviously going to be a big ask when you're asking 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. I mean, now I guess you're getting some that are 25, of course, that are still hanging around. But the majority are young guys, and how do they handle, even if you're a cornerback, let's say wide receivers getting paid more, you're just sitting here like, well, I shut him down. Or like there's so many different angles of this. Right guard, is a right guard not getting paid, but he might be Big 12 player on the Big 12 team. Yeah, but you're something like that. But you're like you're a right guard. You're not getting paid as much as even a safety maybe. Like you're hoping the guys are sitting here going, hey, we know it's not perfect, but this is a step in the right direction. No one was getting paid originally. you were getting scholarships, which is
on the
awesome.
Up and up.
Awesome.
Nobody's getting paid on the books.
Yes. Well, I mean, scholarships, don't get me wrong, are phenomenal, right? But,
I'm talking about the end of the table.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but my point is now it's until there's a legit pay structure, which I don't think there ever is going to be, you're going to have a little bit of unfairness in this, which is, let's be real life. It's a, hey, it might not be the most fair way. Yes, you might be on the Big 12, all Big 12 team as a right guard, and you're getting paid less than a guy who had 300 yards as a wide receiver. But just the way of the world, it's marketing, it's just everything. So getting paid something is always made better than paid nothing, and until they actually do brackets, let's just say, for example, we have a certain amount set aside for almost like contracts in the NFL. Well, you get like a roster bonus. You get if you make first team All Pro, you get this much. Second team,
all
maybe
these incentives for NIL incentives.
And NIL, maybe you do NIL incentives where you're like, all right.
Well, then you really start to get the jealousy that may take place of dude, I've got an incentive that comes with playing time, and this dude's up there playing, and he sucks.
Well, not playing time, but just even.
But I know what you're saying.
It's just there's no good way of doing it as long as players understand it's better than the way it once was. There's going to have to be some understanding involved here.
Yeah, and look, it's to me, it's better than what it was. I'm good with the progress that has been made, and players now getting a chunk of it as well. That they've been the product the entire time, and the coaches have been the beneficiaries of all of the boom in the money and the TV network deals and the contracts. The coaches have been the ones that have benefited from that. The players have benefited from it in sort of ancillary terms of hey, you've got nicer dorm rooms, or you've got better facilities if you're going to some schools. Now they can benefit from it in hey, you've got some actual money in your pocket, and you can do whatever you want with it. Invest it, spend it, save it, give it, transfer it. I don't know. Whatever you want for it, man. It's a free market. Do whatever you think is best for you. But you got that money now to be able to do that, and it's more of the product that's seeing some of that revenue that's coming in for that. And we'll see what the $20 million shared revenue and what that may look like down the road. But certainly it's a matter of that a lot of coaches are going to be asked about in the media days with today and tomorrow with the Big 12. And then next week with the SEC Media Days. We need to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We'll wrap up the show on the other side of the break, hanging out here in Lake Tahoe. It is the American Century Championship. We'll be broadcasting today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. And it's all brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. July is Flower Frenzy Month at Greenlight Dispensary. Make sure to check out greenlightdispensary.com for $25 top shelf eighths and weekly promos from the vendor of the week. It's greenlightdispensary.com. Dylan Michaels. We got up until 2 o'clock. The program was when Petro comes your way next. I believe they're at Topgolf today. So a very golf-themed day today. So we got football and golf, and we got football players playing in this golf tournament. So it's all running together, So we got some football on the docket with Todd in Vegas, and the Big 12 Media Days going on, and Chris Kleiman meeting with the media. But Todd Lebo also having his 20-minute sit-down conversation with Chris Kleiman, head coach of Kansas State, and you will hear that in its entirety during the bonus hour tonight. So if you want to hear that, that is tonight, 6 o'clock, or at some point in that 6 o'clock hour, you'll hear Todd Lebo sitting down with Chris Kleiman. But Seren Petro and the boys are going to be out at Topgolf. We're here in Lake Tahoe for the American Century Championship, and American Century continues to do amazing things with the Stowers Institute and local charities, whether that be here in Tahoe or across the country. I mean, 40% of the profits at American Century go directly to the Stowers Institute, and since 2000, they have raised more than $2 billion for cancer research. American Century. Just them since 2000. 40% of their profits go to the Stowers Institute, and there's a reason why. Absolutely, 100%, man. And so they are an awesome Kansas City company, and we love supporting good people and good companies that have good mission statements and do good things outside of we make our clients a lot of money with our investment portfolio. That's awesome. Do your thing. But what do you do with some of those profits? What do you do when, you have some excess money? How are you giving back? And certainly that's what they've been doing. So we're out here at the American Century Championship, and we'll see who we get a chance to talk to over the next few days, tomorrow on into Thursday and Friday. So, we'll find out. Who are you wanting to talk to, Sterling?
Oh man.
Oh man. Is that
Ray Allen would be awesome.
Oh, good luck.
No,
I don't think he's ever talked out here.
I
don't think anybody's
talks
ever.
in general. He seems like a very quiet, reserved guy.
Maybe it's just because.
But you asked me. What? You asked who and so I gave you an answer. You
fine.
automatically poo-pooed it.
Why did you say Charles Barkley then?
I would love Charles Barkley.
Knucklehead. If you're just gonna pick one, give me Barkley. Like back in the day, it was Michael Jordan. And it was that's not happening. He doesn't talk. There was back in the day when there was a bunch of radio stations out here, and not just us, which is great that we still are the radio station that comes out here and broadcasts from American Century. But there used to be tons of radio stations like San Francisco and Sacramento and a couple of others, and they had Sirius and some satellite stations and things like that were all. I am absolutely I'm XMing it, and one of the. Whether it was a younger producer or a showrunner, or they brought him out here just to sort of be the gopher, Jordan walks up with his entourage of security, and it's a comet with Jordan. He's the comet, and the tail is his security and all of the fans following. He doesn't participate in it anymore, but back in the day, but he never talked, and people knew that he wasn't going to talk. And Jordan walks from the putting green over to the driving range, and he's walking slow, and he's got his cigar in his mouth, right? And he's puffing on his cigar while he's walking, and he's got his caddy carrying his club, and he's got 7 police officers and security guards around him. And as he's walking up to the driving range, the younger, guy, producer, showrunner, gopher, whatever, walks up and goes, "Hey, Mr. Jordan," doesn't break stride, takes the cigar out of his mouth, doesn't even look his way, and goes, "Good try, kid," and then puts the cigar back in his mouth and continues to the driving range. And I was like,
good try,
kid. That was it, man. So yeah, that's so back in the day, it was who would you want to talk to? Jordan, but he doesn't talk. He's not talking out here.
Sorry, I thought Ray Allen was at least semi-realistic.
It's good. It's good.
I could have said Charles Barkley, but
Chuck. I don't know. Just we'll see what happens throughout the week and who we get a chance to
Miles
talk to.
Teller because the mustache.
Because of the mustache, that's really. I think Miles Teller's story is amazing because he went from being at the Super Bowl in Arizona, rocking Eagles green, watching the Chiefs beat his Eagles, and the next year being in the suite with the Kelseys and Taylor Swift, watching the Chiefs win while his wife is cheering on Taylor Swift and the Chiefs?
Rob McElhaney, because I love It's Always
yeah.
Sunny, and we can talk a
And
little Philly
Wrexham.
with the guy.
Rob McElhaney is my number one. Like that's my top.
It's a lot.
Is Rob McElhaney?
Gary Sheffield's going to say, "Hey, remember when you used to swing like this?"
You're just going to do.
Hey, remember?
Chris Farley. Just going to do Remember When?
Yeah, just do the Chris Farley style.
Yeah. No, that's what Nate Bargatze. You know me. I'm a huge fan of Nate's, but yeah, Rob McElhaney is and Miles Teller might be the ones that I definitely want to talk
Whitworth,
about.
Andrew Whitworth.
Well, he's great. That's just a great interview in general. Program next.